You can bring it up whenever. Because I don't know, I mean, do you just want to? Or?
Gentleman called and said, are you interested in academics? And I said, I have to bring it to council.
Well, generally, we are.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of talking to the village administrator when he starts the process.
Yeah.
But this will be the first time he's done it, so he really isn't sure how to do it.
Well, and it,
One will be easy, the second one won't be so.
well, and it depends on where the person is at, what they need.
One's contingent and one isn't.
So. Jeff sends them the annexation agreement.
Old business, new business, what do I do? New business? Got it. Okay.
Coffee.
You smell it. I do too, it smells great.
It keeps me alive.
I wonder who made it.
It was a long day. It was a long day.
Why aren't we recording?
I'll tell Brian what.
Brian's gonna have to step up his IT game and Bradley.
Look, he was looking at us.
You gotta leave that for IT assistance moving forward. Mr. Bibler.
Have Brad online. On the phone.
I can text them real quick.
Oh, we paused or I don't know what we're doing up here. Oh, we're recording. Okay. I lost. Yeah, I didn't hear anything. Something wrong with my volume. I heard that.
I'm trying to think of when I walked in here, the truck was in the driveway when I walked out. I don't know what it was. I just
Well, Brian, you got everything ready?
Mm-hmm. Your live stream. You're done.
Okay. Yeah, I now call the finance committee meeting open. Call the order, roll call.
Keller,
Present.
McCreary.
Present.
And looks like Wade is absent.
We also got the attendant mayor, the village administrator, fiscal officer, three councilmen, Donna, Debbie, and Rick. So we meeting tonight. Approval of the minutes of May 8, 2000. Approval of the minutes of May 8, 2023.
Yes, I reviewed those minutes.
And I second it. Any discussion? Hearing none, Brian?
McCreary.
Yes.
Keller, yes.
Okay. Okay. Visitors, anybody want to address the finance meeting? No? Okay. Thanks for coming in, Evan. Goal for 2023. Well, the best way to do it is staying within the 2023 appropriation. And so far we had to the most part. Old business. None. New business. Review the monthly financial. Okay, Brian.
Okay, for the reconciliation, we finished with the overall balance of $2,844,182.27. Took in $436,000 in receipts last month and checks written for $332,000. We had two deposit transits, which is a credit card transactions for water and sewer monies. And we had outstanding checks of $66,088.
Okay.
That's pretty much it for the reconciliation. And then on page 3 there is the outstanding checklist.
I bet your electric bill going sky high now. I said, I bet our electric bill is really going sky high.
No. That's about the average.
Well, are we locked into a certain?
Yep.
Okay.
Until
Okay, which is
20
good.
We all locked in on that last year. We're locked in for another. I didn't go back to the contract, but we're locked in through all through next year.
Okay, that's a good thing.
Now, when that contract ends and they renegotiate, who knows what it'll be?
Right.
No, it's the it's South Central, the wastewater plant that seems to fluctuate. But there's starting on page, well, that's it for the record. There's a deposits transit. Here's a check register, like I said, $332,009.83 in transactions last month. Of course, of that total, $96,000 was payment to OPWC. I paid off 2 of the loans. We had budgeted to pay off 4. I paid off 2 of them so far.
Okay. Good thing.
So 2 loans have been taken care of.
And the other two sometime this year.
Probably be December. Yeah, we budgeted for pay off
Yeah, I know
4.
we talked about, yeah.
And I tried to do it 3 months ago, but they said, no, you can't until the invoice comes out. I'm like, okay. Well, the invoice came out in May. I went ahead and paid it. And after they cashed a check, I went online and looked, and sure enough, the 2 that I specified to pay off, they show were 0 balance on them. So, nothing more on those 2. Let's see, I could probably tell you which ones they were here. See if I
I knew you brought them all up on the board. We looked at them and we decided which one to do,
I will.
What was the expense for the water?
That's one of our companies we use to fix our pumps at mainly the wastewater plant. I paid off the 2012 water line improvement project loan, $38,000, and the 2008 sanitary sewer manhole rehab project loan, that was $36,000. The 2 I got left to pay off, I highlighted last year when we were talking about budget, is the 2009 East Water Tower and Water Line Project loan and the 2009 Southeast Lift Station loan. And those are going to total $210,000 in December to pay those off. Warwood is one of our, they're one of our out of West Virginia. They take pump goes out to sewer plant, ship it down.
What was the 40K to pet? That seems,
That's our insurance.
is that just our annual premium?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I guess it is June.
Yeah, that was our insurance. It went up considerably. I think there was ended up being about $600 more than what I budgeted. So, mhm. And if you're wondering why I wrote a check to V3 then voided it, is because and the reason why is because when they send me when I was looking at the invoices, there was a difference between what I was showing as outstanding balance versus what they were showing as outstanding balance on one of the projects that we're working on. I think it was maybe the North Granville. Was it the North Granville? I said, hey, I differ. And she said, well, let me look into it. So I went ahead and I told her I was going to hold on to the check until I heard back from her. And then a week later, she came back with a revised invoice that lowered the payment, and now we match.
Yeah, you caught it.
That would be the $22,000.
Yes. It's the 30,000 became 22.
Just one more quick question, because I want to try and know all these are. What's that? Rita? Is that another?
That was a contract we signed when Scott took over the water plant.
Which encompasses.
Whatever Scott had, that was all when Scott came on board. Mayor, you were involved with that one.
May first.
Yeah, is that the billing company for,
They're not the billing company. They actually brought people down.
right?
Um,
Yeah, that's not the billing company, but that's the name of.
that's the name of the Tonka Water, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's Tonka.
Okay. That's all questions on that.
Good question, because, I would, the legal name is.
I mean, If I see something new on here.
Well, don't worry. I mean, a lot of our vendors, we are now switching names and when I write POs, I'm like, oh gosh.
Okay.
So any other questions on the check register?
Randy? Anybody?
Moving on to the finance report, interest from Star Ohio was $2,300, $2,348 last month. Rita collections were 163. Now that includes a $40,000 payment May 31st for their annual. When they go through the book for previous year, and then cut us a check for a refund check at the end of it. Like last year was like 32,000. This year was 40,000.
But we usually see a spike.
Yes. Appropriation status, 5, what should be 45%. What, 42, 43, 42%?
Good to know.
The revenue side. And the appropriation report for the general fund there for all the different line items. Street lighting is making down, still above the curve, but not by as much as it was last year. So it is coming down. The street lighting bill is coming down a little bit. Really nothing right now to worry about anywhere. Look like pool, you'll see those numbers go up because we pool open on May 31st or May 27th. 27th, yes. Start out slow, then it got really hot. We had a lot of good days there. Now we're back to cool weather, and yesterday was a washout. Today was a washout. But I went out over there by around 1:30, and one kid walked in, and I said, if no one else shows up, just shut it down 3 o'clock and give that kid a refund, not a refund, but a rain check.
Yeah, I could tell when you have to look either hot or cold just by looking across the street.
I mean, I went over there and I said, Emma, you might as well send lifeguards home. There's no use sitting here. Keep one or two, wait till about 3 o'clock because no one was in there.
Has it got to a point where they hit through people's ways?
There was a couple of days
I would have thought that.
Yeah, there was a couple of days they had me post on the web page, on the pool swimming page to where max capacity, and I said, well, when you get below, let me know.
Yeah.
And that's all I've got.
Based on the ratio.
I haven't figured that out. That's a good question, and I don't know the answer to that.
Because I'd like to know, I'm assuming it's a ratio. We have X number of guards. X number
It's 25-1. That's the ratio.
And typically we're running on what, 2 guards plus someone at the sales guy?
Well, we have the front desk people. They don't lifeguard. They just strictly work the front desk. The lifeguards, you have 4 chairs, plus you have the manager. And then one on standby, to do things like make sure the restrooms are cleaned when they're not, because they rotate. So you're looking at
So
six.
some lifeguard guards active at the time, not necessarily sitting in a chair.
That's what I was wondering. If it was on
So
premises or
So if there's 6 at work, then we've got about 150 that you can fit in there. And if the lifeguard calls off, it's not that.
Okay, I need a motion to accept the,
yes, I moved to accept them.
second motion. Roll call, Brian.
McCreary,
Yes.
Keller.
Yes, motion carries. Okay, next is the village pay scale. That was come out, things they sent it over to me.
Start out in rules, went to service, now kicked over here.
Can we pull it up here too?
Which one? I don't know what you guys want. I mean, I can pull up whatever.
Ohio Village maybe comparison?
Yeah, I had faith for some places around Ohio.
And you want the PDF one of the local ones, or do you want the Excel spreadsheet?
The local ones.
You want that one? Okay,
That was the one I thought about first.
okay.
I went ahead and sent you the OML survey too, that I got in April.
I had major issues with this because of the different populations that you're dealing with. And the closest population that we have is New Bremen, and New Bremen has a lot of money than we do. But in all reality, it wasn't that different than us wanting to give the guys a bump.
Well, I tried to pick places surrounding here
I
and
know,
some
that's fine.
throughout Ohio, but try to get places similar size.
Right. Yeah, the closest was New Bremen, and they were 34, and we're 2991.
I guess my question, because I'm not terribly familiar with New Bremen, you said they have a lot of money. Why do they have a lot?
Crown is up there, and they pretty much, it's gonna be Crown, and it's gonna be that, Airstream is up in Jackson.
Crown.
But
So they
they-
have an industrial park like he would.
The difference they have points on.
Well, yeah, and that's where it becomes hard to compare because you got population size, but then you get proximity and
Business.
business.
Yeah.
You know, Hebron and apparently New Bremen, similar in size, but they've got huge industrial parks.
Mhm.
Yeah, we don't have much.
And then you get to some of the others, I'm sure some of the smaller ones, some include, I mean, they're part-time VAs and fiscal officers and. So,
Pleasantville, some of those are actually they're quite small.
they're quite a bit smaller.
A lot smaller tax.
They're-
In that regard.
700 people.
Oh, I thought they were closer.
I mean,
It's on that other,
I know we're kind of blessed with the schools and the drive. We didn't have that, we didn't have any tax base.
and some of the people that you would think be on that Ohio Municipal League village salary, there aren't even on there. It's like,
actually Pleasantville's probably closer to 1,000, but that's still a third.
Yeah. And no industry.
Yeah, they got one school.
I think Millersport made the list here.
Yeah, most of it only has 974.
Oh, okay.
So this takes us back to the conversation on what's been proposed in terms of adjusting salaries.
At the same token, the way we're set up is finance is, we set up the pay plan from what, and then Brian kind of goes through the appropriation. The village administrator has always been one that, did the, evaluation and did the wages. So it was never the council that did this. So really, we can't do it. We set the pay rate and wages and kind of see what Brian come up with.
In general, when we're talking, especially the service workers and several running down, council sets a pay scale. Here's the minimum and the maximum, and then council appropriates money for street service workers, whatever they appropriate. And then administration side, mayor and village administrator hiring people work within those confines. And then if more money is needed, you come back and ask for an increase in the appropriations or an increase in the pay scale. But yeah, typically it's not a case where council would say, well, we're going to pay this person X number of dollars, because council's not involved in the hiring necessarily of that person. So.
But isn't that what we did when we hired the water guy and the VA?
The VA is a little different because the VA is the COO of the village.
He was nominated for council with the other.
Correct. That has to be approved by council. Water operator was necessary because we needed to increase or may have needed to increase the appropriations to get that in there. Which is why then it was, hey, we want to do this, council will approve that pay. And that was more so that we had for the appropriations than the pay. Because if it had already been fully appropriated at the end, we could have just said, hey, let's go here.
So would council then just, urge the village administrator to re-examine the pay of a few people because the structure is off now?
Yeah.
And we all know that some people with a lot more experience and a lot more capability are below other people in the pay scale. So I would suggest that council just encourage the village administrator. And I would think in consultation with Darla at this point, because she's going to be the one to deal with what's coming at her, and that we get on that right away.
Well, and not just that, but then council may have to, because of the way we've done the budget is, here's the salaries we have for the year, here's what we appropriate. If we're adjusting, council may have to do some additional appropriation to adjust them up. But yeah. And then I think because council's done pay scale adjustments and increased the maximum, we have. I don't think
A lot's changed since then. So
I don't think anything would have to change on the pay scale. It would just potentially be appropriations for adjusting the salaries.
I think everything we need to do is within the existing parameters.
Yeah.
And we can always go back to pay. That's
You could always go back to the pay scale if that's
very
necessary,
necessary.
just like
We did for water.
just like that, and just like if appropriations are necessary. Yes.
So I think we need Brian to go in and look at some of the figures we come up with and some ideas we get and come back with it and see what needs to be done.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Go forward and look at the salaries and see what needs adjusted, what would be appropriate.
Okay. Anybody have any more questions about the building pay scale? Okay. I need to read this. Okay. be good there.
Since a lot of it will be service workers, do you think you can have a lot of that done by service the next meeting or
Yes,
2 weeks out?
yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
and any information anybody has, I don't know how much research any of you have done, but anything more forward you may,
Okay.
I'll be happy to take it
But
and
then
look at it.
Brian will keep this as a floating thing and put it on the service agenda.
Back,
That way it keeps it moving.
Yeah, right.
back to service. Now, I guess, and caveat to that, you, Brian, you have to, we'll have to talk with each other on that.
Yeah,
So-
you will,
Because I need to know what you're proposing so I can put the numbers in so I can see what it's gonna do to our budget.
So really,
Because that might,
working on-
that'll be the potential council to appropriate portion of it. And one, I guess, as I'm thinking about it out loud, may or may not, because in the appropriations, there's always extra for overtime. So council may not have to appropriate immediately with any. But if overtime happens, a lot of the summer and the fall, come in October, November, December, there might need to be something to.
Like, for instance, with this VA salary in the mayor administrative, I showed you that's gonna be a shortfall. We're gonna have a shortfall in that. But we're not there yet, so I haven't, got with Jeff, hey, we need legislation to do it.
But like some overtime service workers, if there's not a lot of overtime in the fall, it might, even with the pay increase, not hit to where.
Right.
Needs to be
Well,
appropriated.
like I say, I know we had a nice winter, so there wasn't quite too much overtime January, and February. I don't know how many warm weeks.
And we've had some open positions occasionally too.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Yeah.
Been on payroll.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, so it may all balance out,
This year they balanced out this far.
yeah, and then next year appropriation again will be a step ahead.
Okay, anybody has any more questions? Okay, any more new business? Anybody have any new business? I don't have any. Brian or Mayor? Okay.
I can bring up, our new employee now. I can wait till full council.
You could,
How big? Forget, we don't have a big rules agenda, do we?
no,
Because it has to do with finance, we can bring it up now. Well, Wade texted me, he's not going to make it tonight, so all of council is here, so might as well make the most use of our time. It's finance related, that's, I think, inappropriate.
Okay. After several interviews and, a little frustration, but it wasn't too bad. We found a wastewater level 2 operator that we're gonna hire. He's actually extremely certified, extremely experienced, and comes to us from Aqua. And, he's, also water treatment certified as well, level 2. So we talked a couple of times, we sat down, discussed, where we needed to be, and, came to an agreement on the salary for him. And, I think it's good for us to talk about it because it takes him quite a bit when you look at his credentials and what he can do for us. And, based on his, original position as wastewater, operator 2, and based on his, water treatment operator 2 level, he's also a CDL. What I offered him was $86,000 and change. I can give you the exact figure.
And to keep it in perspective, because I know it's a lot more than we had been, but we had 2 people, we still had one out there. One person wanted 140,000. Yes. That would be the frustration.
And we still need another person because they need licensed or certified.
Doesn't need to be,
It has to be
a
one.
wastewater 1 would be nice.
I can share with you what, we had a representative from, RCAP today, Feynman Roberts. And we were talking afterward, it was myself and Scott Oliver, our new wastewater supervisor, and Feynman. He mentioned that what you have done with council here in putting those incentives in place is really what you'll probably see other places do, because the reason that people jump around in that industry is because of money. And if we were to go out and find somebody, I think someone said 44 or 45,000 they're paying an operator to in some places, we'd lose them within a year or two. Pretty quickly. That's one of the things that he commented on today. We were glad to hear that. So I think this, one of the things that I was looking for is the right person. You know, there are a lot of people who can walk in the door with credentials, and sometimes you just want to make sure it's the right person that's going to fit with the people that you're working with, the group that you are, and make sure that, because those are the kinds of things that can confuse the operation. They can frustrate people because left hand doesn't know what right hand's doing, those kinds of things. So I think it's good. I think he's a good communicator. He's definitely well qualified. I'll share his resume with you, and I think he's going to be a good fit for us. And that's why I wanted to make sure that we get him on board. He's going to take care of a lot of things for us right away.
And when does he start?
He can start 2 weeks from tomorrow.
Can you go ahead and send the resume?
Sure.
It's very impressive.
I did share that with the mayors. Right here.
You said right.
Must be a range of Teague. Okay.
So, but something to think about, like Rick mentioned, is another worker will should be out there. Like Brad mentioned, it takes two to run that plant safely and to get everything that you need to get done. And someone with a wastewater one, because they have the fundamental understanding at that point of kind of, even though our plant's unique, would be a benefit. So you're looking at another ballpark, probably 50-ish for the worker out there.
So what's going to happen between now and the next 2 weeks?
Okay.
What's going to happen between now and the next 2 weeks?
So because we had the changeover and we keep in contact with our EPA and we'll come in, we should be okay.
Okay. I just get worried about the EPA coming down.
We had the 2 weeks with Brad, and then Carl understands that then Brad left, and so we're working on it. And
Print them ready.
yeah,
Because I'm thinking.
there's that.
Yeah. In order to do the acid rinses and things that are needed now, it really needs 3 or 4 people out there. What needs to be done is plan right now. Two, just all two. It's gonna have 4 other service workers in to do.
When they have to lift it from the crane out. Yeah.
It needs that.
I want to say the beauty, when the plant is running auto and they can do the cleans while they're in, they don't have to pull the membranes out as often.
Right.
So just so you know how I came up with the figures, I went with the top rate for that position, 78,062. And then I added in the water operator 2 certification and also the CDL. That's a CDL, it's a class A with a medical card, so you can drive anything.
I allowed, I don't know if you want to ask this question in council.
That's what council rules say, that any council member attending any committee hearing is welcome to join the conversation and the discussion at any time.
So it may be more of
confidential question, but
I'd like to-
I just want to know.
I'm not gonna put this.
He works for a company
Yeah.
called Aqua America Water. So what he does is for that company, he works for those different cities or villages or whatever they are. I think what he told me was there were 3 different places that he works. He's just ready for a change. He's ready. He's in a 401k. He's not in an actual retirement system like PRS or any of those things. The money wasn't quite what he expected when we started talking. He thought it would be more, but he was willing to move just because he wants to. He's right in Granville. He's close to us.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah. I think he's been working pretty hard for a while, so he wants a little bit of a change.
Mine in. Took off all the money in that quick. Yeah.
He knows we're Baltimore, not Westerville, and
Not a lot of people are looking for more of a work-life balance. That's good.
Yeah.
What motivates people working in a job these days is remarkably different than
It
it
is.
was 3 years ago.
It is.
Okay, anything else?
well, then tomorrow I want to come in. You can talk, you can give me the numbers that
I
you're
know.
telling, so I can plug that in, so I can so I can see what's going to happen.
Super happy. Budget and workers, and we have time. There's a service worker starting this week,
Yes.
and then 2 more, or 1 or 2 to interview.
I've got 3 other applications. One I've tried to contact you. He hasn't been very contactable. Then I've got one who's starting Thursday. He's going to be a laborer. He's going to start out at 20. He's going to come up in his wastewater deal.
What did we say? It was right under 21, wasn't it?
It was 20, wasn't it?
It's not big. Yeah. It's right. So the good news is we're getting applications
And
now.
this is for service workers?
Yeah.
Okay. How about the administrative assistant?
Working on the streets. And
I know you said something about
And-
you might have someone.
Faith works for one.
I know.
So we've got a little cushion with the summer for while she's here that helps out.
Does she not want the job?
Did she graduate?
No, she graduates in December, I think.
Yeah.
She has bigger ambition.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
This is the summer job.
Maybe when she decides to start a family, we'll get her back.
Did you see that?
So, but yeah, there's applications come in, one starting, a couple hopefully be interviewed.
Who's the equipment operator? I think, if I recall correctly, 22 is what we told him because he's got experience.
Yeah.
He does not have a CDL. He doesn't have the certificate for heavy equipment. He's been working with B Level, which is a local company we all know. But he's the same way. He wants to get into a job where he's got benefits and retirement, that kind of thing. I think he's going to work out.
Who's that?
Sorry, his last name is Eisen.
I,
Eisnagel. Something.
Okay, no gestures in a public
No.
meeting, please.
I can't remember his name. I knew he was going to look.
David Allen.
Yeah, that's it, David Allen.
Okay.
Yeah, he's been, yeah.
The David Allen Leona?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all
Okay.
right.
Not
Yeah,
bad.
I just couldn't think of the name.
I don't know. Yes.
Okay, I knew.
Yeah.
And
He's gonna be a good fit. He's gonna
I
be.
was asking about the administrative assistant. Are we doing anything with that yet?
I've gotten a couple of emails from people who say they have someone that would be good for us. but I haven't had any contacts.
Is it posted
Now-
anywhere?
It has not been posted. It has not been posted.
And that's what must be this year.
She won't leave.
Sure.
No, she'll be done in August. I
August,
believe.
yeah. I think we was gonna wait
Yeah,
till,
so- No, I think we should.
well,
Should post it in July so that.
Well, that's
by the
true.
time
Make sure
she-
we,
What are the primary skills that we're looking for in that particular position?
in the administrative position, okay, without the job description in front of me, obviously, okay, be able to use a computer and phones, do the minutes.
the minutes.
Yeah,
There's a
Excel.
person that has expressed interest to me, but she needs to give her current employer. She would need to know if she was leaving her current employment by July 10th. So I don't know if waiting to post it is necessarily a good idea. If you've got something like that potentially out there.
we can find desk space for somebody. if we need.
And maybe not even need to start that quick. She just needs to tell her current employer that this is what's gonna happen. She doesn't need to start.
And this person would be a real go-getter. I mean, you would, with her and Missy, you wouldn't have to deal with anything.
I'd be more than happy to talk to her.
Okay. Yeah, I'll send her your way.
Yes, sir. Be great. Sorry, I didn't have all the information at my fingertips today. Do you need any more from?
No, I was just trying to get an idea because I know we said we wanted some complementary skills depending upon what we already have.
Yeah. Trying to think what else. Probably gonna rely on them for some of the code enforcement stuff. That's basically, letter writing, record keeping.
So am I done?
Basically, real good about going out and taking photos and things like that. And I don't know that we'll find somebody that's willing to do
So
that.
am I to understand then that, as we talked about, you know, the two VA or two village administrators, not really, stepping stone. So have we decided that it's going to be more of an administrative assistant position then that you need and nobody else?
Yeah,
That's it.
obviously wasn't involved in the pre-talks before I came on, but I guess we'll flush that out. However. I mean,
No, I just, so I guess my question is, you feel comfortable, I mean, that was the thing, we're gonna bring the VA in and see what he needed help, he or she needed help with, and whether it was going to be more of a professional, person coming in to help, or whether it was going to be more of an administrative assistant. And so you're comfortable enough, you think, with everything all the way around that an administrative assistant would be?
well, I can tell you this, and probably some people in the room could attest to this too. Zoning is a difficult part of this job. And it's just, it's a lot to figure out when you're, especially when you don't have a history in it. But
In reality, there should be a separate zoning administrator from the village administrator. And there was for years.
But then it fell to where there was almost nothing. for
It
them.
fell to nothing, and then Terry started doing it, and then it picked back up again, and it's part of the VA salary comes out of the zoning administrator salary, so it's separately line item, so it's something that in the future should be looked at as a separate person, just because there is it's sink or swim. There's either nothing to do or there's a lot to do.
And you definitely know what you're talking about when you're talking to
Yes.
customers on it.
Yes.
No one currently on staff has had the
nothing.
time to bone up on that.
Well,
It's a lot.
Right.
Since October.
There's been a lot of things come through.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of stuff going on here
We just need to
recently.
delay those projects just because we haven't got our act together.
Right.
And so the administrative assistant then would take over the zoning, is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that there should be a separate zoning administrator
Okay.
that the administrative assistant can back up and help with paperwork. But for instance, you know, when a new build comes in, there's pre-construction meetings, there's checking the site plans or going out and just checking the fence lines. So,
Which is when that development begins.
well, that's a whole different issue. That's a whole different, this is just the everyday stuff. Permits, anything that comes in. The zoning administrator is the one that's supposed to go out and check and do that. So the admin assistant can help them with the paperwork, but.
That could possibly be a part-time job if you have a really good village administrative assistant.
Correct.
So if you have a person who understands construction and surveying and all those sorts of things and mapping, then they can task the administrative assistant with doing the office side of it as long as they bring the knowledge to it.
Right.
But there wouldn't be a full-time really job for that person with the knowledge.
Yeah, I don't think it's a full-time.
Right.
Job. Now, there might be times probably in March, April, early May, where the person might put in 30 hours or more a week, just because that's when a lot of the summer building permit stuff comes in. But then throughout the winter and stuff, it becomes a little slower. So, but yeah, I definitely not a full-time person, but a part-time person, and they can actually limit their hours even more with a good admin assistant.
So this person that you have mentioned, you brought up, what is their background?
They're still very smart, so they figure it out quick if you tell them what they need to know.
So what is their background?
I don't want to reveal who it is, but they're permanent. Very heavily contacted.
And I will say this about the zoning part of this. I have felt like I needed to do a better job with it. And then it was just because of my lack of involvement before. I think as time's gone on, I've learned a bit about it, but certainly not at a level that probably the position needs. I could still continue to learn it. And I found out that there are a lot of people out there. The mayor's been very supportive with his information, but there are a lot of people out there like Mr. Junior back there who are very helpful in understanding a lot of these zoning requirements and questions.
Also a reason zoning attorneys charge $400.
Well, and just having
Sure.
built multiple buildings and houses,
Yep.
you have to figure it out.
Yeah.
You're not going to get to the finish line unless you
Nope.
figure it out.
Yeah.
So that's.
We'll get there.
Thank you.
Okay, you have anything else?
All right, pleasure.
Mayor? Randy?
No?
Council? Anything else? Okay, the next meeting will be Monday, July the 10th at 6 p.m. This meeting is adjourned.
Okay. 6:49 p.m. Roll call, please.
Reedy,
Yes.
Schaffner,
Present.
Foreman.
Present.
And we also have Brian Holbrook, the new VA, the mayor, Brad Nicodemus, police chief Tussey, fiscal officer Brian, and Randy, Cleary council person, Chuck Keller council person. And a couple of. Can we have the approval of the minutes of the May meeting, please?
I've read them over. I've been looking over. We're going to make sure to approve minutes as written.
Have a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Foreman,
Yes.
Schaffner, Reedy.
Yes. We have a couple of visitors. Anybody want to talk to the rules committee? Nope. Okay.
Were you getting that?
No.
Oh, okay. I saw,
Sign up.
oh, okay. I saw you lean forward and I was like,
I think on his, I think what he would like to discuss would be best for new business.
Of this meeting, we think?
I think this
Okay.
one would be, maybe, I don't know. We'll figure it out in a minute.
Yeah. All right, the employee evaluation form was tabled until Mr. Holbrook gets to look them over, I guess. Whether he wants to do.
I've found a few versions of different ones, so yeah, I need to dig into these a little better. Please.
And then we need to finalize your VA, your job description, and we have some changes from the previous guy. Have you looked at it? No. Okay, that's fine. I mean, is it okay, is everybody else? Table it. Those are our key goals that we have right now. Old business, do we have any? New business, I know we have something about the village alley.
Yeah, I thought we were going to put this in service committee, but, there's nothing really that we need to do, but I wanted to talk about when I was petitioning for council, I heard a lot of people talking about their alleys. And I have an alley in my, beside my house that Terry told me was not a village alley because it had not, been maintained. It was like, we haven't maintained it, so it's not a village alley. The fact that they stopped maintaining it does not just automatically make it not a village alley. There's another, I think, if you go out to the light on Walton Street, turn left, and then that first road that goes to the right, is that an alley?
No,
No, it's a road.
that's a road.
And so there's a, you have an easement though, right, on that hill? I guess I
There's
would.
an alley behind the bank.
No, I think the easement, I think it's an
The
easement.
right of way is much larger than the paved road.
Yeah.
So don't confuse an easement with a
Yeah.
very large right of way.
All right, so,
And on some maps, that's Liberty Street with the curve, and on some streets, on some maps, it's Canal and Liberty Street once the curve is made. So depends on what map you're looking at too.
and so recently we had another complaint about the alley down here going off Basel Street that had been blocked. And we don't know really if that should have been blocked, if they had a permit to block that or what. So what I was just gonna ask was that Brian, in your spare time, try to find out, give a list of all the alley, get a track of everything that you think is a village alley. And then the other alleys that are either been abandoned because, somebody told me while I was petitioning that Terry had told them that we've never abandoned an alley.
That's not true.
And I don't
No,
know
we
if
have.
that's true.
And there are a lot of platted alleys that were never developed. It's not that we never took care of them. They were never developed. They're platted, but
Right.
they're grass.
And that's why it'll be hard to inventory alleys, because alleys are basically,
Some of them look almost like roads. Some of them are in horrible condition, and some of them are still grass.
And some
Well, and some of them, the residents are paying to put the gravel
Well,
on, and I think that's wrong.
well, and some of them are not actual alleys, but where residents over the years have made their own by driving on it and then put gravel on it, and over the years said, oh, this must be an alley, so it's yours. There are several of those where we occasionally, there's one in particular that every year I want gravel on my alley. It's not an alley. For 20 years, someone just drove their car through their backyard to their
Oh, okay.
garage.
Well, I know for a fact that the one that goes by my house, we moved into that house in 1970. And that alley was maintained at that time.
So over the years, it would have been what year? Brian, was it your first year's fiscal officer? Where money's always been tight, but it was a little tighter than normal. The council made a decision to basically only address alleys when it became necessary to address them and not to really do the gravel on them and stuff on an annual basis so that money can be put into the actual roads, since alleys aren't supposed to be through roads. So if council wants to go back to saying, hey, we need to maintain some of these alleys and start putting some money back into them to fill potholes, because now we do it. Someone complains, we go out and we look at it, we say, yeah, it's pretty bad, let's fix that. if we want to put them back on the road maintenance schedules, that can be
I
done.
just don't want
It's-
residents to be having to pay out of pocket to maintain those times.
Well, and they shouldn't be.
You know, when I moved here in 1990, there's an alley in behind me, and it was grass, but it was, people drove back there, and there was ruts. And I come to the village and I asked them, can I open that alley? Because I want to put a garage and come in through the alley. They said, yes, you have to go down so many feet. You had to put big rock in, and you had to put gravel on top and maintain it. And I did all my expense. While we were digging, it was wet back there. I found a drain. So I attached, I put a drain back there. It is dry today and everything. I mean, it really improved the place back there. But I've been maintaining, putting gravel on it ever since I've lived. And I get some gravel there now. I get spray it every once in a while.
Sounds more like
To
a
me-
driveway than an alley.
Yeah, and I told the village, I said, don't shovel snow, don't worry about it all. And they don't. I afraid we took the gravel, and I got back more gravel. So
Well, that's the problem is for a long time we didn't do.
I got
we
four-wheel
didn't
drive
shovel-
truck, so I don't care.
Well, we didn't shovel because the plow and truck's too big to go
Yeah,
down
and
alleys anyway.
I don't,
And alleys aren't meant to be through roads, so.
Some people may have an unreasonable expectation for maintaining their alleys too.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's,
I need
we
to
have
have
roads that are worse, we need to focus on them first.
I didn't open the whole alley. I just opened part of it, my end, and the other is grass in the middle.
Oh.
And we mow it, me and my neighbor.
And it goes back to. See, you're opening the can of worms. Because, but no, it's a good conversation to have because the alley that goes into the parking lot behind my office, half of it was vacated when Greg built the house. But then a year later, the owners of the property filed and wanted the rest of the alley vacated because now it's only a half alley. And council told them, no, you can't vacate a half alley. I said, well, why not? We vacated this half for the house being built there. Why can't, so council said no, which is why now,
But that has been used, actively used for my house is grass.
is, but now the half of that alley is literally a driveway to a parking lot for two different buildings. So it could very easily be vacated and off the village responsibility as opposed to now, basically. Someone calls and gets potholes, they would put them in the driveway and it would, could be off the village responsibility. So,
I think there's three property owners that use that alley though, or there are three different.
yeah, because Lonnie gets to his garage right there. So, yeah, it would be split 3 ways. The point being is, and this is why it's a good can of worms to open, the village has been inconsistent in alleys over the years. Shop, okay, do it. You don't do it to your alley. Let's vacate this half of an alley. Oh, but we can't vacate the other half. It's been inconsistent. So maybe rules is a good spot to bring this up because it might be something where the village needs a set of standards or a set of rules to abide by when it comes to alleys. When do they get vacated? When do they not? What's the process? When do we care for them? What's the process if someone says, I want to put an alley in? And yours confuses me because the one that I'm thinking of that asks us every year, it's very clearly on their property. It's just a big driveway. But yours goes all the way through from where
No,
it
no,
stops.
it stops
It
it.
stops, but it actually goes through our parts of each driveway.
Yeah, then it kind of picks up at the other on Elmwood because when they built that house, they used the alley
Yeah.
as a
Hermie-
driveway.
Yeah, Hermie used it for a driveway to a garage.
So you should be comforted by the fact that I don't know the alley behind your house. And I have to look it up on a map right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I put it on rules, Debbie, because
Okay,
it's more of a rules type thing than
do
service.
you know if there's any ordinances at all about alleys?
Yes. I've seen them myself once. We talked about abandoned alleys. And I think it came up in that discussion about the alley over there. off
Like I
of,
said, we just vacated.
Yeah. So I've seen them. Looking for other things, obviously, but I've seen them. I'll get a list of alleys as best I can and also find the it's by ordinance, the abandonment of the alleys, so I'll find those much else.
And I've actually improved an unimproved alley according to specs. And then at that point, the village is supposed to maintain it, but you know, that depends on, and it was for access to the garage.
And you know what though, when Jeff gets here, we can ask him, because when we were looking at the alley over off of Boswell and the car that was getting parked there, the map room for Jeff pulled the original plats of that area. And we actually found two other alleys that we didn't even know were there that were platted as alleys, and stuff like that. So the map room might be able to help come up with a plat of the village that would show, it's not gonna say here's your alleys, but it would plat out where everything's at. Well, the problem is that sometimes the auditor's website mistakes the private driveway for an alley or something like that. But,
It hasn't vacated mine.
exactly. So it gets close.
Is that the alley you're talking about, the one on Basel, we had parking issue there?
No, the one up by my house. There's an alley that goes between Maple and Washington, and it's paved. And then the one that's, and then right in the middle of that is my backyard.
Mhm.
I know you know where I live. Been out there a couple times. So,
We got that fixed
you know
too.
where Mr. Peck, lives, on the corner. Okay, it's between Mr. Peck's house and my house.
Okay.
That alley that goes back, now that, and that intersects the other. Well, the one by my house is gravel, and the one that it intersects into is actually paved.
Okay, I know what you're talking about.
And now that I'm looking at a map of your area, heterodox.
I've heard of that. I don't know what that is.
So heterodox is the alley,
Well, that goes back behind,
but it's named alley because years ago, the village allowed people to build something back there. So you got Basel Street, and then as you're going out Basel towards your place from Market Street,
it runs parallel.
it runs parallel. And it's the one where it comes into that Y right there at the bridge. That alley is heterodox and started out as an alley, but somehow over the years it got named.
Cute. So it's a road, it's a street.
It's an avenue.
Man, we have an
And so it actually starts behind like Ken's Body Shop,
Yes.
that alley, but it doesn't technically get named until you cross Washington Street to keep going down that alley.
Oh,
Ain't Madison Avenue, that's for sure.
So, yeah,
so good luck, Brian. Is what I'm saying.
yes.
And
So
don't look for
a lot
the
of
one,
inconsistency with alleys over the years.
if you need the one that, that was when council vacated alleys back in 1880, I have that scanned copy. You don't go, I don't open that book
I
again.
think this might be a list of alleys to vacate when it's completed.
And it may very well be,
It might.
or council might look at it, you might look at it and say, hey, this is an alley, and if we improve this, we can improve traffic flow, or and instead of making an alley, make it a very narrow road, because we have plenty of those. But
There's nowhere they go. There's nowhere.
yeah, there's that one.
I have to worry about that.
Well, thank you. We have a question. And I got a question. Okay, behind Summer Choice, we made that a road, right?
So
Elmwood is platted all the way back.
So Elmwood is still a street.
It's still a street, so where we have the barricades to stop
Yeah.
Elmwood, it's actually platted all the way back to the park property right there to.
Okay, my question, I heard someone bought that. And they decided to put houses. Would their address be Elmwood in or?
It is in contract, is last I heard. And Summer's Choice is now a public road as well, so
depending on how you would build, if you build with the front door towards Summer's Choice, you would get a Summer's Choice address. If you would build the other way, you would have, that person would have to improve.
But
Elmwood.
we went all that, we went the right of ways there, some choice with parking and, you know, with swimming pool and it wouldn't bother me where I live, but I'm just saying, that might open a can of worms and
I'm just saying, given the speed at which other projects have progressed,
yeah.
that might be a problem for 10 years down the road.
Okay.
Yeah, that was just done last year, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, we just changed it, but we never thought about anybody really coming back
And
there.
it couldn't really be more than a half a dozen houses.
Yeah.
I don't know that crazy.
The last I heard, the general idea was, actually just a couple of multi-unit condos, but nothing too big. But there would also have to be a lot of land clearing, some very mature trees and stuff like that. So, but yes, so Summer's Choice is Road in Elmwood. So depending on how you build.
Okay, anything else on those subjects? Mr. G, do you want
Am
to
I-
talk?
Am I to leave this on the agenda, on your agenda?
Yep, yes, please. Yes.
Yeah, actually, this will work out as a nice segue. Sure does.
One more?
So, my name is Bob Peters. Property identified as 0 North Main Street. It's actually a vacant lot directly behind Bob's oil can. Along with the other truck. So what I'm proposing to do there is to build 2 duplexes. Question came up, there is sewer on the property, but there's not water on the actual property. That was one of the conversations. There's water at Rome and Romulus. I think the easiest way to do it is on service for that back to those buildings. There's a question about a dead end. But it really will not be a dead end because it's a service to a building. I mean, dead end would be if you ran, 200 or 300 feet of pipe and then did not have to flow off of, just not flow off the entire river. The other piece, if you can tell from my drawing, is I would like to use that alleyway that is currently undeveloped as kind of a service road for the building. That way, Romulus is not a dead end either. You go back, there's an alleyway that goes over to, I guess that's technically another alleyway on the east side of Bob's Oil Can.
And so I
And you're
just,
talking about Front Street by the.
No, Front Street parallels the track.
Yeah, Front Street doesn't exist.
It is not a street.
Correct.
I just wrote
This
it.
is the next alley north of that.
okay, I was just making sure because I'm looking at it on the map because I think Front Street, didn't we establish that actually as a right of way for the railway?
Yeah.
The Front Street is owned by the railroad.
Yeah.
Right.
So when I'm looking at the railroad is down here, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
The page.
North.
I hope it's something facing up. So I guess 2 items there. And is there any opposition to
This is north.
approving?
This is north.
Service.
Just like, just like that. That would be north.
North is here.
Yeah, because Romulus would go, Romulus runs north.
North and south.
What meeting was that?
So that,
It was council.
that's a street beside the dog grooming place, isn't
What is that called?
I don't know if that's.
it? You know what's going on right here?
I don't know if it's an exact.
No.
It goes up to
What's,
an
what
18
is
or
that?
20 foot wide easement.
And asked me, I told you 10 times. It's right there beside the old Domino's Pizza.
Right.
Yeah,
No, that's a street.
Yeah, it's a
What he's talking about is,
Further south.
that's an extension of the alley that is there's like, the oil change joint. I think there's a big blue house and then there's an alley that runs back to the existing alley as it's headed on here, but it doesn't. run
I'm
on
looking for the
here.
minutes.
I mean, the alley is on the map.
Oh, okay.
It's just never been opened because it's just a field.
Here, hold on. We'll throw it up here real quick.
okay, good, because I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it'll have enough to see it on that.
I'm not going at a floater
Yeah.
view also, but then it's a small.
Where's your mouth?
Over there, you gotta swing it over this way. And it's over
There it is.
I've been trying to find the
Where
minutes.
is the ladies that's over here? Where's their house?
Well, let me clarify. The ladies that's over here do not own the property.
No, it's their aunt.
Theirs is up here. It's around there.
Right
So
up.
they-
Oh, is it?
then-
You do own this, because I was, so you own this too?
And that was I was on New York, I was on this one here.
Okay, and the end of that road. That's the.
Yeah, I see
So you're gonna put this in.
It's Sally.
I see the unapproved alley now.
This one right here.
It's like a house is really close to it.
Right.
Yeah, if that's the auditor's section, you click on one of those lots, they'll pull lot lines in, you can always see the alley.
Oh, I went to Google Maps. That way they can see the overhead.
Where is that at?
But the
Where
other
you're-
one-
That's the church that you're looking at right there, right above the church.
Is this you right here getting ready to buy?
Yeah, that's.
So-
that's-
600 is the oil.
600 is the oil can.
There's a church right there. What's that?
Right
110?
here.
Yeah.
See that road right here? Comes here.
One
Right behind it. The oil can door.
I know,
The railroad
okay, so the
tracks.
oil can, and then there's a house, and then there's a road. What is that?
That's an alley.
You'd be connecting Romulus to the improved alley.
That alley would run right
All
here.
the way through.
Right.
And that's this guy.
Just like when that mark just stays down, it's from. Whatever.
Okay,
It's different than I thought. I thought we were on an extension of Romulus. I didn't realize.
Here. Now you can go back to minutes. Thank you.
Yeah, I was looking for the minutes where council was to loop.
Why didn't you say so?
I think it came to zoning. Is what he's proposing to do prohibited on that? As the way it's written? Is that-
Right, because it's business right now.
Because that doesn't usually,
So we're working, you can't put the residents.
most business zoning can prohibit residences. Usually zoning is more of a, you can build less than, but you can't build more than. You can't put a gas station in an R3, but you can put a house in
This is
a business district.
a multi-faceted one, but well, some. I'll have to pull it up. Because there's a rezone or variance required, and rezone would be better for it. And then it's going to be a lot split, correct?
Well, I'm not even positive I was split. I mean, that was a question as an option. I want to build the two duplexes.
Right.
My own logic behind splitting is it would give me the opportunity to sell one if I ever wanted to for selling.
And then if you built 2 on 1, it would require a variance or a lot split because you can only have one primary structure.
Yeah.
So it's
So you have to either split it and build two twin singles, or you have to
get a
get a
variance.
variance to build 2 on 1.
Or rezone, because MRV permits multiple structures on the property.
Right.
So that was
Hence
my question.
hence the zoning.
Like one of the BZA members wondered why it was at a BZA meeting when it sounded like a zoning question.
Because when it was originally came in, it's a zoning, and so planning commission is the one, and council eventually has to approve it. We wanted to go ahead and have the initial hearing, and then so BZA had 5 residents to hear it. Because when it originally came in, it came in on a variance application and got noticed like that until it was caught that it's a rezone. And so we didn't want to delay anything.
And then council, because the planning commission would be 3 members plus mayor and council member. BZA actually gives 5 residents the opportunity to review it, and then council still has to review it to rezone it. So there was no loss of process.
So what happened the other night then? So where does it stand now?
Well, from what you told me, they've postponed the decision for the next meeting for more discussion.
Correct,
The recommendation, yeah.
for the next plan.
Well, one is, they refer to one as VCA and the other one's planning.
Yeah.
And apparently they're alternating months is kind of how they're.
No,
even
well,
though they
no, they're
technically
at
are all
the same
same.
time, they're when the agendas arise and are necessary. So 3 of the members on planning commission are also on BZA. So it's a lot of the same group.
And I think that was the challenge. There were 2 or 3 people that were somewhat familiar with it, 2 that they
Right.
were
For
first
this
time.
meeting,
Correct.
You were not here
yeah.
and Brian's not good.
So, and
Just felt more comfortable postponing it than.
And then I mean, I had told them, of course, I didn't know people were showing up. From a village perspective, we want this to occur so that you can develop that land. So we'll get it set at the next.
Is there any way we can, with my meetings being a month apart, you know, it really delays it adds a real big delay hurdle to the process. And as a builder, that really kind of, you hate to get it all approved just as much. I'd like to try to get it into the building. Are we able to bypass
Unfortunately,
that?
the gentleman has been delayed since April.
We can, I mean,
Oh, that's,
they can, we can always contact them, and if everybody's available, set a meeting. We just have to, it's a special meeting, just like council has, so it's one agenda item, here's what the meeting's for, and you just have to notice it X number of days ahead of time.
I just think with all the new members and all the things changing in the village, it'd be a courtesy to him to try to help his process be expedited.
I don't have a problem contacting everybody and seeing when they can get a meet again to discuss it, so. we
On
can-
another Thursday. Whatever.
Well, yeah, I would have to, yeah, whatever everyone would be available.
how many days do you have to?
Notify.
On a special, Jeff, that's just 48, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At most.
So when can be keyed up for like this Thursday or next Thursday?
I can't this Thursday. I couldn't, I have another meeting on this Thursday. I can do it next Monday if we wanted to do the same like this council meetings.
Or you won't have a council meeting.
Right, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
We could just have a special meeting.
So I think the new members would like to have a more organized meeting as well.
It's just a matter of
They felt like they were
everybody
somehow
else,
lost.
making sure everybody else is available. So we can do that.
Monday, because Mondays I generally keep on open also.
Open. So why don't we just contact Brian for Monday next week?
Monday.
Perfect, we kind of glossed over, are we going to allow him to just do the 2 service lines with these condos? So there was talk of requiring a looping, and the looping would add probably in the $50,000 range to your project, I would guess.
Yeah, and I don't see any
There's no
real
benefit to the village.
There's no other developable property there that it could potentially serve. You can only serve those 2 lots.
I mean, I guess I don't see it as a council question. It's more of a, I'm building these 2 lots as part of the design plan for when we build them.
Just work with Tim on how you want to do it.
Yeah.
And the village administrator.
It's
not a council.
We've already talked
To me,
about
it's,
it.
yeah, it's no different than if the water line was 100 feet up Romulus and we're building it, how do we get it here? Right.
I think part of the concern had to do with hydrants and
He
Casey.
said he doesn't need them.
Exactly. Right there.
Okay. So I guess there were three items here we kind of touched on. One is the rezoning to MRV. The other is developing that alleyway that has not been developed. And the third one is getting water service from Romulus to the lot.
Water, I think we've got 2 of them. What I foresee being the potential issue is that alley because of how close it's going to sit behind that church.
It's an alley.
Yeah, it's no closer than Ken's building it.
Well, and again, this is a bad picture,
Right.
but I don't know where the alley is platted. I mean, I can look it up on the auditor's
How much
site.
frontage is there?
And I mean, it
From the
only
alley
needs to
to
be
the-
a couple of feet.
Right.
25 feet, 26 feet.
They don't own it, correct?
The
The church doesn't own it.
the church may actually be built on the alley is what I'm trying to get at.
I'm not opposed to missing the church. but-
Just get a little chill on there.
I think it makes for a much better finished product, having the ability to loop through in front of the building. That way you don't have a dead end there where you got 3 or 4 people trying to get in.
Yeah.
But I think it might also, not that really have to please everyone, but it also gives people. I know.
Yeah.
And while we're chatting real quick, I'll gonna pull up the auditor site and see if they can give me a general idea. What is that? What do we see that was 119 East Road? Yeah.
Wasn't there talk taking North Romulus and extending it?
North Romulus has already been extended to this lot. It is,
Yeah.
it is physically on the lot now.
But I thought there was talk to keep going.
No,
You mean
we just
to-
required Mox to extend it to be able to make the lot sellable.
So not an exact thing, but when I'm looking at the auditor site, it literally looks like the parcel goes right to the back of the building, like they built that building right on the line. That tree is right in the middle of the alley.
The tree is in the alley, absolutely.
Yes. But yeah, it looks like they're right there on the line, so. Be close.
You got the same building on Keller Avenue?
Correct.
So if anybody like to see its finished product. you might-
It's great.
Oh, it's right
It is.
there on the corner. Okay, nice.
It's great. It's
I'd like to
great.
See what it is he's building. Might want to take advantage.
Yeah, I saw the other week. I didn't realize that was yours.
Target the higher end rental audience. There's a lot of people that are selling their rural properties and aren't sure they want to commit to another one.
There's a market for it for sure.
So we'll see about getting that meeting on Monday. I'll let you know. Yeah,
So a week from today.
probably shoot for 6, but it'll depend on making sure everybody's available at 6 or 7, but we'll get that ironed out for you and let you know.
Okay, all right.
Good. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you, sir. Alrighty.
Motion to adjourn or talk next week.
For my agenda.
That was it.
We talked about the 4-year degree in the last meeting. Is that?
I don't know, might be,
What's that?
I didn't see it on tonight's
I didn't see it.
Requirement.
4-year degree for police chief. and deputy.
That was explained to last council meeting. That's not, I know. There's no action on our part because we don't require that in our job description.
Okay, does anyone have anything else for the rules committee? Going once, going twice. The next meeting will be the second Monday of July, which is July 10th, right after finance, and regular 6:45. And I have a motion to adjourn.
We'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second? Adjourn.
All right. I've stopped video. Recording's
Yeah,
paused.
stop video and mute, that way it's still live streaming. And I'll see your
Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. And forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Recording's paused. There we go.
All right. Well, now that we're recording, we'll say we call this meeting to order at 7:31, and all we've done so far is our opening prayer and pledge. So now we will have roll call.
Cosgrave's absent, Foreman,
Present.
Keller, McCreary,
Present.
Reedy,
Present.
Schaffner.
Present.
All right, we have a quorum. Next,
What? I didn't touch it. I really didn't. I really didn't touch it. Here we go.
all right, next is approval of the meeting minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes of May 22, 2023.
Discussion, roll call.
Keller,
Yes.
McCreary,
Yes.
Cosgrave's absent, Foreman, abstain, Reedy,
Yes.
and Schaffner.
Yes.
All right, 4-0, 1 abstention, minutes will be approved. Approval of the agenda, I don't think there's any amendments. Motion to approve the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda.
Hold on a second.
Discussion, roll call.
Keller,
Yes.
Foreman,
Yes.
McCreary,
Yes.
Schaffner,
Yes.
Reedy.
Yes.
All right, first agenda item is visitors. We've got several here. Anybody wish to address council for anything? Yes. Just have you just sign in. All right, we'll just give us your name and address, and the floor is yours.
I'm Scott Rose. I live at 206 South Granville Street, Baltimore, Ohio, 43105. I have a few issues with the Bloom Carroll Softball Association. One is they block fire hydrants all the time, which I see as a safety hazard for me and my family and neighbors. They also park along the road, which is only 14 feet wide, which I think is too narrow. And I keep getting softballs hit to my house and my car, and nobody will man up and say anything to me. I don't know if we need taller fences or something. And their trash is just scattered all over the back of the park. It's been like that for 2 weeks, and it's overflowing.
So which? Trying to pull up.
Come to Johnson Park, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And what's your address again?
206 South Granville Street, be Diamond 4, Mayor.
That's what I was trying to.
That's the Bloom Carroll Softball Association.
Yes.
I'm not.
What they do, use our park.
Yeah. I mean, well, this goes back to the whole parks thing, and the softball league sets those up, but I wasn't aware of Bloom Carroll in here recently.
The thing I know about it is when I talked to Coach Shire, right? He's the one who handles the organization, the softball. He said that they, trying to remember now if it's Bloom Carroll who's trying to use the field, or if it's Bloom Carroll that's using the field. There's some type of a rub there between.
How did they gain access? Who gave them?
I think it's part of the scheduling that they do with that league.
So are they there every week?
Yes, seems like 2 times a week. My truck has been hit with softballs. I've been sitting on the couch and hear giant thuds.
So these would be foul balls or
Added or thrown.
over or something. Okay. Because as I'm looking at it, it's the house if you're not looking at the map, it's the house right at the corner. The ball diamond is the side yard, right? Okay. And this is the first year that field, they didn't use that field last year, I don't think. That diamond
For a long time.
not been used.
Your house, Publisher's old house, around the corner.
Yes.
There you go. Sorry. Old school.
Because that field, that diamond wasn't used last year, correct?
It has not really been used the first 5 years I've lived here.
I don't
The
think-
last 2 years, they picked up steady on it last year. I think it might have been Baltimore. Youth girls playing on it last year, just practicing. And then Bloom Pearl has played there this year.
There this year. Because I remember walking by the other day and saying to myself, this diamond doesn't usually get used.
Mostly it's just the little kids.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody, you know, the
That's
big,
amazing.
big kids playing on it.
Sounds like one of Brian's first orders of business, should be put the Parks Association back together.
Yeah.
So
I
do
was just
that.
gonna say, because that was
Yes.
supposed to be reorganized.
Right. So that we can
Sounds like-
control this.
Who said that they can play that?
Well, that's the, that goes back to the Parks thing that we redid. Because up until now, the village had no say in the scheduling. The softball scheduled the diamonds when they felt like it. Baseball scheduled the diamonds when they felt like it. Soccer scheduled the fields when they feel like it. And that was why we had council redo that Parks Committee so that we can force the users to come to the table and then restrict their access to the parks if they're not cooperating. So that when we have problems like this, we can.
So who goes to Carol and tell them, get it together or?
Well, we'll have Brian reach out to our local softball contact, who is the one that usually schedules them.
Yes,
And figure out what's going on.
and that's Dan Shirey. I'm meeting with them on Wednesday at 5 PM. This is the first time I've had a chance to meet with the group. That's the softball, youth football, baseball, the swim team, youth soccer, and this is the first time
Are they all coming in that time?
I was on the
Chuck was on that too. And I
Actually, but Terry could tell you, we met, but nobody out from the park would come.
And that's why we did away with the Parks and Rec board to this required for users to do it.
And by ordinance, they're supposed to meet in
Yeah, we're
January,
supposed to
February, or
meet
March,
in
something.
January, yeah.
January and February. And unfortunately, and when I reached out to these coordinators, coaches, one of the things I wanted to make sure was they understood we're not trying to create a situation where they have to go to a lot of meetings. But we also have to understand that, like the soccer team and the football team, they don't have their schedules done in January or February. They may have them ready now.
Right.
But so it's going to be a more constant communication with them.
And the idea was so that, well, as you saw, Blue Carol using the field was news to all of
We were all
us.
over.
So
I thought, maybe he's in the wrong town.
I don't know that we can give you an answer right now, other than you've heard the discussion. We got a meeting with them Wednesday night, and I'm sure it will come up and we will start working on something.
Person that told me to come here said you guys would probably be a little surprised too.
What nights are you consistently seeing there? Some of us just, it'd be interesting to go and see what's going on.
You said you could do this.
Thursday is definitely game day.
Thursday?
Game
Game evening?
I'm always gone on Thursday. It's not like my schedule. I live right county.
Well, Tuesday would be practice day at least consistently.
Thursday game day.
Okay. Well, we certainly appreciate you coming. Well, obviously, we didn't know what was going on,
I
so.
think I saw it somewhere, someone had written something about it, but since.
I did get, I was contacted.
Organization, the committee was kind of dissolved more in the process of the organization.
And it's a couple of things going on. One, who's using and scheduling, and two, this field, this diamond has been rehabbed over the last couple of years because it wasn't used for a long time.
Right.
And so if they were in the back, we wouldn't have this problem because, well, if they could hit your car from one of those back diamonds, then.
I have multiple dents and dings on my car and truck.
And
And
that's-
that's brand new truck and a brand new car and missing siding.
And that's part of the things is they're supposed to have insurance
Right.
policies to
They
go.
do have
Make
big
sure
insurance.
that the committee collects that insurance information.
Yeah.
Ladies from Cleveland.
Wednesdays that have practices.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen a guy back there taking a tractor and go around circles and, grading and everything, but I get tired for the T-ball.
They do not play T-ball there, and I think that is a T-ball field though.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Well, it used to be.
That's what it used to be all the time, because they don't usually reach the house.
So and that would be interesting if they were paying to use that.
No one, I can tell you, no one has paid
That's,
anything.
whole, the village.
No one has paid us.
that's kind of the big question mark.
Yes. All right, so here's what we're doing. I'm gonna have Brian, the VA, give you his card. Shoot him an email with your contact information so that after the meeting on Wednesday with everybody, you stay in contact. We can figure out what's going on.
Good deal.
And so you already know that there was insurance information, so you've got that to submit your claims.
I was a little furious when I walked out
Mm-hmm.
because there's 7 people there and they did not tell me they hit my truck.
But obviously someone. So, okay. You got Brian's card. We'll meet with them. Anything else you need from us now?
Chief Tussey, this would be for the fire hydrants. They're parking right on the fire hydrant. Not
Just call me.
call you.
Call.
I just didn't know if patrol would swoop by Thursday at 6 o'clock, 6:35,
At 6.
Tuesday at
I
6.
can't tell you we can be there Thursday at 6. If you call and say there's a fire hydrant block, we'll send a car up and enforce it. That's pretty serious stuff.
Also, people are blocking my driveway as well.
It has to be so many feet back from the corner of your driveway, so that's all enforceable.
What about parking in my driveway?
That's up to you, believe it or not. If they park in your driveway, then we have no authority over that. You can have it towed.
I can have it towed.
Yeah, and we'll stay, yeah, it's their expense. And, but we'll stand by while the record gets there, because that's usually the only way they'll tow off private property.
Call the tow truck and call you.
And they're probably gonna tell you to call us as soon as you tell them what's going on. All right?
All right. Thank you for
Thank you, sir.
letting us know what was going on.
One more question. Do we have to stay for the whole meeting?
No.
Somebody wants to bring us a while.
All right, I just want to know, how many of you have ever thought you were gonna blurt that out? Do you have to stay?
Never crossed your mind.
All right. Any other visitors have anything?
Okay. Hi, I'm Nathaniel Stitzline, and I've got a little handout. My wife and I live at 1780 also Western Road, the former Grange Hall, and appreciate you letting me speak tonight. A few years ago, I came before the village council, my wife and I did, just to ask about the drainage on the west side of Columbus the west side of Baltimore through our field. So just south of Washington Street on this little map I'm handing out, you can see that there's a 12-inch clay tile drainage tile that is draining the areas north of Washington, west of 256, and the tile is blown out. So there are areas in our field that are quite deep. And if you look at the photograph on the back, you can see my wife who's 5'6" standing in one of the holes. And it's about 3 feet deep there. So there are 4 or 5 holes forming there, and I asked the village about it a few years ago. Terry Wise was the village administrator. Dwayne Moore was on the board then, or council then. We never heard back, and then my wife talked to Terry Wise again. We never heard anything again. So earlier this year, we contacted Nikki Drake, the district manager and engineering technician from Fairfield County Soil and Water, to draw up a map, look at the properties, and she devised a plan to replace that tile. And then I think Mr. Boucher from the village also went out to the drain right behind the Mason's Lodge, ran a scope through part of the drain. You can see where it was still intact through the forest, but in our field, it's all blown apart. And so we have concerns about it being a potential safety issue. Also, if the drainage gets partially blocked, it could flood or cause standing water on some of those houses on the west side of town. And then you can see there at the top of the page there, some of the concerns we've had. And then also the erosion we have on the property. So we contacted the Eats to go through and make sure there were any gas lines running through there. And they checked out there, talked to our farmer on Alt, and you can see that his estimate is to replace the drainage. And just to address the village council again about having it repaired, since it seems to be a public drainage system running through our property.
Because you called it a drain tile. Is it, I know that there's a storm sewer inlet there,
Yeah, one on each side of Washington.
but where it goes into that tile, who put that tile
It's been there since we bought the property. And it's draining that side of town according to Mickey Drake from Soil and Water Conservation District. And it connects to a drain right behind the Mason's Lodge, which then runs over to, I think, one of the.
Because the reason that is there's a difference between a private tile and a public storm sewer.
And that basically, the size of that tile is 12-inch. Mickey said it's a storm sewer.
I mean, you don't even have any inlets on your property for that tile. You could literally just close it off and put it on your bed, right?
Right. Except for flooding on one of our properties on the north side of Washington Street.
Right.
So Rob, that's his estimate to replace it. I don't know if the village wants to go out and find somebody else to replace it.
If it's the village, the way it works is the village will do it and go out and get their own person. If it's a village line.
Well, I mean, that's it. If it's draining that side of Baltimore, if you go out there and look at those drain inlets, you can see the water just running through there from that side of Baltimore.
Does it run all the way to the creek?
It basically runs to a drain right behind the Masons. And they have drainage tiles going into that. And I think that's where Mr. Lucher ran his camera scope through the drainage. So right there at the south edge of those woods in that photograph, you can see kind of like a dark area that's basically right behind the Mason's Lodge. And there's an open drain right there where you can see the water just kind of running constantly.
I think it runs all the way to Walnut Creek. I think there's a little feeder creek runs through there that makes its way to Walnut Creek. It doesn't really go all the way.
Yeah, it could go on the other side of the street there. There used to be a stone, well, there is still a stone bridge over there now. So it could go to that. I don't know. It goes underneath the Mason's parking lot.
Yeah, I know the Mason's building has had flooding issues over the years too.
Yeah.
Tim scooped it through the woods because he was concerned that it was failed in the woods, and found out that it was not failed in the woods.
And I guess the first question is determining if it's public or private.
Yeah, because that's the field.
Yeah.
If it's a field and it's a formal, well, I don't know all this time. Is it, is there a field down, but there are two?
It's clay tile, right? That's what's.
Do you know the depth of it? Over 3 feet. Is Rob fixing any other tile on that field as well, or just this is the only? Okay.
There are a few kids in that area, and we've tried to keep them away from them. We put some stakes in just to alert them so they don't fall into the holes.
Hey Jeff, are you doing all that other property searches? Is there because if that's a village storm sewer, there would be an easement.
Should be.
You see if there's an easement there for a storm sewer?
If there isn't, would you grant one?
What's it involved?
Just basically granting the village easement so we can maintain our storm sewer line if we need to.
Yeah,
Well, I guess
on top of my wife, but
I guess that is the question.
If it isn't there.
If it's not there, then
It should
it's,
be.
well, if the village wants it. If it's just a tile and a farm tile, like every farmer around here has running through their fields, it's a private tile, so if the village wants to take it over, that's something council would have to decide.
I think he's pretty well researched and proven that it's more than just a field tile.
I mean, Nikki is the one who's the engineer for stormwater. And so she's the expert that I know of in the county.
What evidence do we have that it's more than just a field tile? It's a clay tile, 12 inches.
You know, it's
For his purposes, he could take it out.
Yeah, take it out. Yeah, I mean, it's 12 inches, very large.
I mean, you could just take it out. You don't really care, just fill in the hole. Whatever happens to village is a village problem, except for that you own a property in the village also.
Yeah.
That would need that public access.
Right, and we've talked to some of the neighbors over there too about it, so they're aware of that, their backyards drain through that system. So the other thing is, a long time ago, and I talked to Nikki about this and said, on the tile, what if there's a swale, but it's so deep, she said it'd be basically a big rut going through that field. And soil engineers, I don't know what the best approach would be, it seems like a drainage tile. Or sewer tile, we want to say a storm sewer tile would be the best way to replace it. And Rob is proposing going on plastic, so that's likelihood for it to blow apart.
So it's a 12-inch wide clay tile?
Yeah, that's big.
Big
It
for
is.
clay.
Yeah.
And during the dry times, I've looked down that storm sewer inlet by Washington Street, and there's always a stream of water going through there.
Rob indicated that to solve the Daniel problem, he would put in a 4-inch line and drain Daniel's property. And somebody else's problem.
Could you go back and, yeah.
Daniel needs a 4-inch line would do it all, drain your property and not worry about what else is coming.
But the implications, because there are a lot of other, several other.
Implications is bad for the rest of the village.
Yeah.
Gonna dig a
Well, and
hole
another
for 4
parcel.
inch, might as well dig a hole for 12 inch.
He's just
Yeah.
saying Nathaniel shouldn't have to pay for the difference in the cost of 4-inch tile versus 12-inch tile.
I'll find out if there's anything.
And then I put my contact information on the back, so.
Let's put that, you think you could have- no. At least
Well,
preliminary
the
thing
other-
in 2 weeks or so. The service will be in 2 weeks, and service is where storm sewer should be discussed, so we get that.
The other issues can take it back.
Okay, so, okay. Appreciate it.
And then another question, on the, I know we've asked about before, the woods, the forest just west of the cemetery on Basel Western Road. Has the village ever considered selling that?
You mean to the cemetery we just got 2 years ago?
Yeah. I asked about that at the last time.
The village has to make it publicly available when
Yeah.
you do decide to sell it.
Yeah.
But I didn't know if there was any conversation about
None that we
Not
had.
yet.
it. Okay.
It has to be
First
public.
time.
Yeah, so if it were to go for sale, if council were to decide to sell that after we surveyed it and partitioned it off, it would have to go out for open bid for everybody to bid on for.
I just wondered if you would ever consider selling it.
Yeah, that's the cemetery too.
How much you pay?
It doesn't pay well.
It doesn't pay at all.
We got about $8,000 to take it over, so we can pass that
You
on.
guys do well. All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you. And we'll put that on the service agenda in 2 weeks.
Okay, great, thank you.
And you don't have to stay for the whole meeting.
I was getting antsy up there.
All right. Anybody else? All right. If not, we'll move on. I'll do a quick report. Oh, wait.
I have nothing. He just wanted me to sign in.
Oh, okay. Had possibly my last ribbon cutting. So, do you have any questions? I know we've met. Have you had any questions? Do we need to meet again? I mean, we've got a month left, but just let me know.
Okay.
Okay.
I know, he'll text me. Because we covered a lot, so I'll give it over to Brian to interject as I think of stuff.
Everybody got my report, right? Okay, any questions about anything or anything jump out at you? One of the things that we did start before the last situation happened at the pool was looking at security cameras and alarm systems for a few of our facilities, our water facilities and the pool. We did get some quotes on that. I can tell you that everything that we got so far, one for the pool, one for pool cameras and pool security systems, both of those were over $3,000 each. So that's just our first quote. Leave it at that. We are in the process of hiring. I mentioned earlier during finance that we hired a laborer for streets maintenance. Also the wastewater operator 2, we talked about earlier. And the variances in BZA meeting, I think we covered that pretty well with Mr. June when he was here. My notes on the back, any benefits from our meeting with Spectrum, we'll have to follow up with them. I don't think we were overly overwhelmed.
You know, I think not overwhelmed, but I think
But there's
some cost savings measure somewhere, I thought. So,
right.
but
I wanted to make sure that it was going to be worthwhile as far as service. Because one of the things that it ties into the security systems, whatever they might end up being, the speed of the system is what's important for us there. So Creeks and Byways still coordinating with them. RCAP, I told you earlier that we met with them. Feynman Roberts was a gentleman from RCAP, and that was a very productive interaction. And Ken Heigel from Ohio Water Development Authority was out here on the 31st. I spoke with him and about some of our projects and plans, and I'll be speaking with him again as we look at, and they're consulting at a free consult with them. It doesn't cost us anything. You attended June 6th meeting, and so that will hopefully we'll be able to document some other training with the County Safety Council and be eligible for those BWC rebates. John Deere Gator, Pickerington traded in 3 or 4 of these. I believe he said 4 this afternoon. I did get information from an email that he has one. I sent that on to Tim Boucher to review since they're the end users. And so it looks like we will probably be able to replace that John Deere Gator.
Is that mostly covered by insurance?
Yes. It'll be Rob and Peter to pay Paul until we get the insurance, but we
I don't know when we see that check.
Yeah.
I know that Rob Beglins, I think that's his name, said he was going to turn it in. So
did he have any idea how much they were going to?
No, he didn't tell me.
Did we not look at anything from the pool theft, the theft? Jeez,
The last incident over there?
whatever. Did we not get anything from it? Did we find the gator? Did we find?
No, we haven't had, the gator was stolen in one incident, and then there was another incident.
Yeah, we've
More
had 2
recently.
incidents over.
No. No, sorry.
No idea who. And when I managed the pool, all I had was people crawling over the fence. tighten in the water for me.
Well, we're sure that that still goes on. I did meet with Steve Cottrell, here at the Opera House. We did a walkthrough. He made some comments about upgrades on, the building and the window, project. And, he did give me 3 quotes, and I haven't really discussed those with anyone yet, but he did get 3 quotes, on the windows. So we'll be reviewing that. Farmers Market, I can tell you, I drove by, the sign looks great out there. And I did see the emails go back and forth with Steve and some of the other folks involved in that. That really looks good. I met with James Hinkle today. I met this morning with the people from RCAP and met this afternoon with Mr. Hinkle over at Greif Paper Plant. He has two concerns. One is the cost of water. They use hydrant water to dredge when they're doing the holding pond over there at their facility. And he asked if it was possible to lower that price. And my response to him was, it's by ordinance, it's 2 cents for everybody. Bulk water costs 2 cents. But I did tell him I would bring it to council and explain a little bit about the process. What comes out of that plant goes to our plant. So anything they can do to make that water better when it comes out of their plant and goes to our plant is to our benefit. Now, this is something they have to do every year, or every other year. They have to dredge that pond. So it's an expense for them. So do you remember what they paid last year?
This is,
When they dredged it last year, didn't we do a contract with them and give them
No.
water at a discount?
no. What happened last year was, they set a meter over there and they used 3 million gallons of water at 2 cents a gallon, which billed them for $76,000, which we agreed to do it in installments. They did it a couple installments. They paid us half for the first invoice, half the second invoice, on the premise that we work out and negotiate a new deal for them. So, because it was too late in the process, they already used the water, and council had said, come back to us next year and we'll negotiate a new, maybe a new rate for just for them for whatever they're doing over there. Like, well, just take it for, like every community around us, I think you researched this. We charge 2 cents bulk water a gallon. All the other communities charge a penny. Why we're at 2 cents, I don't know.
This isn't the first time someone's asked me why we charge 2 instead of 1.
But when you're dealing with that much flow, I mean, they can't handle that. That blew their budget. I think that was last year, if I remember correct. So whoever was in this position was supposed to negotiate maybe a new rate for this year. And I think what Brian's asking is, do we go with a penny for them?
I mean, they're really bad negotiators if they say, give me a better price. Usually
No, they asked if we would go to a penny.
Okay. I mean, because we've dealt with them on other stuff, we have different rates for them.
Yeah, I'm not sure what contract we're talking about, but
I can show you that contract.
well, Jimmy mentioned today that he thought it was up for renewal.
Oh, look, I'll have to look into that for you.
Yeah, so it's possible that that entire contract with them was up for renewal.
Might be about right. If we did that, it would have been, I think it was a 5-year contract. And we did it a year or so before COVID.
Has it been that long?
Yeah.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Are we talking about reducing bulk water in general?
No, just for them.
What kind of time frame are they on to be a response from the village?
Well, they usually start that in the summer months and run it through like 2 or 3. They do this over a 2 or 3 month span, I think.
They avoid the wet season. So
Yes.
it's late July to in the month.
Yeah.
Equipment's over there now.
Because they know we can't really handle it in the wet season. We already had I&I coming out of here.
They do. They have the equipment over there today. They're set things up.
So are they getting ready to start that?
So
But it's something I think if council does it, it can go with a motion so they can get worked on and then the legislation can follow up. the next one.
Absolutely, yeah. If council's prepared to address it, so.
Yeah,
Someone makes a motion that we all to dredge rate to a penny a gallon for the water to dredge the pond.
Yeah, 30 seconds.
And this is just for on temporary basis. Correct? So-
Just for.
This is just for their,
process.
their
And
project,
we'll
yeah.
do the same thing with the meter, so we know
Are they
exactly.
still using wells? Or they-
Yes,
They are still also
Yes.
using well water.
Yeah.
Okay.
his comment to me today was, but they like it to be as clean as they can get. They do have some well water they have to use, but yeah.
all right, motion and second. Discussion. All right, roll call.
Foreman,
Yes.
McCreary,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes.
Schaffner,
Yes.
Reedy.
No,
4-1, motion will pass. And then, but we do need to follow that up with legislation, correct? But that should give Craig the okay to go ahead. We'll do that and then we'll just. follow up.
Can I ask why it needs legislation?
Well, we did it by contract last year, right?
No.
Well, you just referenced a contract.
He referenced a contract we signed with them 3 or 4 years ago give them that, it was some kind of special rate on sewer.
It's when we did the sewer, because they did sewer improvements to send us over, and they were going to send us so much at certain rates and stuff like that.
Could we then include the water rate and the for the dredging in that contract?
In the new contract, yeah.
As a part of the new contract, that takes everything else off.
Wouldn't have
This,
to do
this
this
is
again.
just a modification of the existing ordinance. That's where we sell bulk water.
I think we're fine with the motion.
Just a motion.
Yeah, just the
Okay.
motion on this, so. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're good. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll let him know. That's all I have.
That's it.
No, it's not. Mr. Hinkle also talked to me about Pawpaw Creek and the work that's going on over at the high school at the rear there. And I looked into it. I called Fairfield County Soil and Water and talked with them about it. At first, they thought it was their responsibility. Then they kicked it back to us to make sure that it really wasn't changing the floodplain down there. Went over and I talked with Joe from the school, got diagrams. He showed me what they were doing. Basically what they're doing is they're replacing where they're digging out to add on to a building. They're replacing it up on top of the area behind the parking lot, if you will. It's not covering anything down on the floodplain.
Above the floodplain.
It's above it. So based on that and based on information I got from Soil and Water at the county, I told them just go ahead and proceed with it and we'd just keep checking it and make sure that it was not impeding any of that floodplain. So good. That is all.
That is all.
Thank you.
Moving on then, Brian.
I guess since our last council meeting, a pool has opened. They seem to be doing very well over there. Attendances picked up during the hot weather. It has really picked up. Last couple of days, not so much. And the caveat on your question about the theft, we did have another break-in. It was, when was that? He was away. Over the, not this past weekend, but the weekend last, someone did break into the pool. They didn't, they basically stole $150 in cash. It's basically a startup money.
they changed locks, so correct.
They changed locks. They broke into the office. Yes.
And we've addressed that key issue, right?
Yes. That's all I have.
Questions?
No new legislation on the agenda.
which is unusual for us. One table ordinance, and just as a reminder, the council that can stay tabled up to 1 year. It was tabled the last meeting, which was May 22nd. So per council rules, that can stay tabled for up to a year, and there's no action to untable it and act on it, then it dies. And that's all I have.
Here's the finance.
Okay, Mayor, we met tonight, and everybody was here that was, that we had a finance meeting. We went over finance, motion was made to accept them. They're all in working order, so they're all doing pretty good. Brian went over, did pay off 2 loans, got 2 more loans he's gonna pay off in December. The VA went over, and he hired a wastewater 2 operator. We talked about the village pay scale, and Brian's gonna go over that and get back with us. So our next meeting is July the 10th at 6 o'clock.
Right. Service, Reed's not here, but service hasn't met since the last meeting. Their next meeting is June 26th. Thank you.
Yes, no, we did not have a meeting tonight. Our next meeting will actually follow service on June 26th around 6:30 to 6:45.
And Bruce.
Yes, Mayor, we met tonight and there was a couple of subjects that we talked about. And our next meeting will be July 10th after the finals.
And police department.
Thanks, Mayor. Our new hire, Jim Farmer, has completed his physicals as required by the state of Ohio to be a part of the police and fire pension fund. He's out on the street now. He is qualified with us, and so he's in full FTO at this point in uniform. We have an upcoming change, which are a couple things. We have our MDTs, the computers that are in our cars. We get serviced for those through the radio room. And that's, that's a service they provide. It helps them out, helps us out. They've decided to change the vendor that they use. So that meant we had to pull each of those out of the car and have them rebooted. In other words, strip off the old, put the new operating system. We got the last one done today, so those are all completed. And that was done at no cost. It didn't cost us anything on that. We did make a decision not to go with the new reporting system that the county has gone to. The problem with that is we've been on what's called OLEG for years and years. Our operating system with reports that we currently use is not compatible with this new system. So if I needed information from 4 months ago, 3 months ago, whatever, and I'm now in this new system, the only way I'd be able to do it is to go into the police department, get on a different computer, look it up, pull it down, and then go back to whatever it was I was doing. So we've decided to stay with OLEG. It's served us well so far. They also installed GPS tracking systems in each of the MDTs. It's not a let's track and see where everybody is kind of thing, but if you can't find an officer or they set off, we have a little red button on the radio. If we push the little red button, it puts out a banner and everybody's screen starts flashing red and says this guy's in trouble. But the problem is you don't know where they're at. So with this, if you push the button, what will happen is it will come up, it'll find your GPS and or your location, and then a map will come up on the screen and it will zero in and show everybody else where that is coming from. And that was also something that was a part of this new transition, so that that didn't cost us anything. I think I talked a little bit before about we confirmed reservations for the SROs to all attend the week-long SRO school in Cincinnati. Again, we got that through a grant, so it's not going to cost us anything for their rooms or the schooling or whatever. So it's considerable savings. Believe it or not, I know this is hard to believe, but we've started planning for the festival. We're looking at some different things we're going to try to do this year. As you know, we have one officer that is uh, horse training, has her own police force. She just got back from Mansfield where she was recertified in that. So we're going to use her on the grounds over there. It's kids love that. There's something about horses. So she'll be over there doing that for us. I think that'll be a real good thing. And we, if everything goes okay, starting July 1st in that area, we're going to have on the second shift, we'll have an officer out on a bicycle to try to just kind of knock down some of the stuff that goes on around the fort. Keep kind of a lid on that. We've been doing some maintenance on the cars. We have one car that's been problematic to us. It's an electrical problem, and if you've ever had anything with vehicles, electrical problems sometimes can be hard to trace. This car, for some reason, will just, as you go down the road, decide to turn a headlight on. We don't know why. You park the car, you can't get it to turn off, and then just as strangely, at some point, it'll turn the headlight off. So we've had it 2 different places. Nobody can figure it out. Nobody's charged us to look at it so far. And so we took it down to Ford, or we're taking it down to Ford, and they believe they may be able to sort it out. If not, then we purchased a used headlight assembly, because it's not like they'll put the headlight in, it's this whole thing. We were able to get one out of a wrecking yard. And if that doesn't work out, we're going to replace that entire assembly and see if it fixes it. Because I kid you not, we must get 6 or 7 phone calls a day about, hey, you got a cruiser with a headlight out. Well, actually, we know, we just don't know the other one's coming on and turning off. So other than that, everything's going real good. We've been receiving some complaints on speed. We got one over on Cliff Street. We want to work in Cliff Street area real hard. We've been trying to get out on the Holder Road. I noticed we're starting to see some speed uptick down there. And the other location that we started seeing we're having some issues with on speed is down in the very far south end of the school zone. Even though school's out, it's still a 35-mile-an-hour zone. And people inbound seem to think they're on 70. So we're trying to get a lid on that. Other than that, I think that's all I have.
Yeah, 2 quick things. One, just turn headlights on and no one will know that the one always. Just turn them on.
Yeah, I suggested that.
Lights are on for safety.
What reporting system did the county get with? Do you know?
Tyler Tech.
Yeah.
No. Okay. That's all I have.
I have a question. You mentioned the festival. Is Hamilton still in charge of the festival?
Yes.
He hasn't approached council about using. We need to pass that resolution.
We got 3 meetings.
We have 3 meetings between now and the festival.
I'll give him a call tomorrow. I've been talking to him about security, whatever. But yeah, as far as I know, he's still in charge of the festival.
Okay. Well,
Really on top of that.
He usually comes in several times.
yeah, but I haven't seen him, and I was thinking when he brought the festival, I just in my head.
I can prepare the resolution. Have it ready.
Yeah.
And we can start the readings on that. Council can
We
start
just
the
need
readings
those.
on
Yeah, definitely do that. We just need the actual request. Off we go.
I will text him right now.
I just thought we have 3 meetings left.
Good thought. All right. That brings us to fire board. We need someone. I had kind of tried to talk Darla into it, and then I totally forgot that your daughter's the fiscal officer, so that with her there and Ted is a little much. So it's been Steve all of those years, so I totally forgot. So someone from council, we need to put on fire board.
Thursday's a bad night. It was on there, I think it.
And I already have PDRC.
You want to propose our solution?
Tuesday is market, Thursdays.
We maybe want to have a solution, is that she would appoint, there's a person running for council besides me who could be appointed to her seat, and then if and when he's elected, he would move to a different seat. She'd go to have her back. But I guess we want to be contingent upon will you serve on fire board.
Well, I mean, I guess we could always just punt it and next month Darla can punt whoever she wants.
When are the meetings? Thursdays.
Because that's kind of what it is, because the next person could be appointed.
That's what I was
Anyway.
suggesting, basically.
And then if, depending on how everything shakes out next year, there'd be a new appointment at that point anyway, because I still wouldn't be able to go to her, so
Thursdays, what are they, the second?
third Thursdays.
Not that I'm interested.
I guess that's, yeah. So,
I mean, you're picking,
well,
you wouldn't have one for this Thursday, but I could get the minutes.
yeah,
I mean,
we
that's
can
the big deal.
easily get the minutes, as long as there's nothing major being voted on.
It sounds like they're having trouble getting quorum.
Yeah, they'll probably get form, but.
So they may not have a meeting Thursday anyhow.
I am not gonna sit at a table and negotiate a pay raise with all of my customers. It's just not gonna happen.
Oh, man.
Pretty overexposed sitting here right now.
Smart man.
And that leaves Wade. So if Wade says no next meeting, then it sounds like you have a good plan for when you become interim mayor.
And
Assuming, well, yeah, because someone will have to be appointed to that seat for the 6 months, so. So it might be.
I'll have to talk to you about how.
Yeah, okay.
But the fire board, yeah.
Okay. So fire board doesn't sound like they might have a meeting anyway with form issue,
No.
so, but there's a plan in place to get someone from council there for July. Okay,
Can I ask, what is next council meeting?
the 26th.
26?
All right. In that case, we'll move on. Planning and zoning, we've actually talked quite a bit about tonight with Mr. Jude. There was another variance for a garage or a barn on Cliff Street. That was approved, wasn't it? I don't know. That one should have been approved because the neighbor got the exact same variance
Yeah.
with the exact same builder in the exact same building, so, okay. So we've covered planning and zoning a lot tonight.
We don't have the minutes made it up for those yet, the minutes. Yes.
Planning and zoning.
No.
I haven't seen any of them.
And we're gonna try to get a planning and zoning meeting
No.
next Monday to be able to continue to struggle.
And Kay Williams has been replaced by Tiffany Shaw. Is that correct? Because it's an updated list had Kay.
No, yeah, Kate moved down to the village. And so Tammy Litz is on planning and zoning. And Tiffany is the BZA.
Tiffany.
Update those lists.
Oh, you weren't.
And I emailed you the update.
Yeah, I got the update. I can update the lists if they want to have their contact information.
If I didn't include it, let me know and I'll send it to you.
You did not.
I didn't? Okay. I'll send it to you.
Okay, send me that and I can update the list.
All right.
Tiffany, what?
Shalom.
I'll look at the email.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She runs, We Love Our Town. She's one of the moderators on there. Works for the payroll company. Pretty active in the village, so. All right. Tree commission. I don't know if they met. I know during the summer sometimes they do current meetings.
Yeah.
I usually try to attend those. I attended not this last one, but the one prior. I know that they're talking about trees a lot. There are some problem trees that they want to bring to council about. So I'm sure we'll be seeing that.
I've heard news
It's a
about
good group. They do good.
specific information. I know that they talked about the trees in front of the funeral home and then the recent updates at Chalmers that actually the high school helped with that. So,
Nothing for records, communication, any motions.
Can we back to trees for a second?
Oh, yeah.
I got a quote today. Tim Boucher looked into some trees over on Romulus and Huntworth, I believe. There's about 3 trees over there that need to come out. So we got a quote from them. It's just for information.
Now first reading, no second readings, no third readings, we have tabled ordinance 2023-07, which is the ordinance amending traffic control map for 1 hour maximum parking at the intersection of Walnut and Market Street, sponsored by Foreman. I believe that was tabled at the last one, since it was on vacation.
I'd like to table
So that is a motion to untable it?
Yes.
All right.
Second.
And roll call.
Yes.
Faulkner,
Yes.
McCreary,
Is this in favor?
This is just.
Untable,
Yes.
Keller,
Yeah.
Reedy.
Yes.
All right. Untable.
Okay, I made this motion to restrict the parking in this particular business district. I think we're allowed to consider it in any of the downtown business districts because they're public parking spaces and it's the public that wants to use them during business hours. So they aren't a particular person's parking space. The problem is, and there is a problem, what's the problem? The problem is people who own a car, but they don't own a place to keep it when it's not in use. Like the people who are coming to the businesses are using the parking space, they're using the car, they're using it for a short period of time. The public owns the parking spaces, the public ought to be allowed to use the parking spaces. All we're asking is that they share these parking spaces during business hours. They're still allowed to use them all the rest of the time, but the public who owns the spaces would like to be able to use them to access the businesses. So when I say the problem, as I stated, is people who own a car or own a vehicle, but they don't own or rent a place to keep it when it's not in use. Like, it's like a park bench. Park benches are great. You can sit there and read a book, but when people start spending the night there, it's not so great anymore. And we're not even complaining, or the problem isn't even about the overnight, it's that they're using it when the rest of the public needs to use parking spaces. So I'm going to make a motion that we adopt.
I'll defer to council. At the last council meeting, I mentioned that it's unusual for these ordinances to be passed like this when they're kind of vague. So in other words, usually they're more descriptive. So they'll identify how many parking spaces, or they'll identify the addresses from 100, what streets we talking about? From 100 Walnut Street to 104 Walnut Street.
In my original motion, there was reference to distance,
100
feet in all 4 directions.
Okay.
Now, and then we discussed maybe changing that, or changing whether it was all 4 directions or 2 directions or 3 directions, but no one ever said, well, I would like to change the ordinance and have it only be this direction or that direction, but no one ever took away the 100 feet, which is roughly 5 parking spaces.
So if we do.
Or be 4 plus the distance to the corner, actually.
So if we do the motion to adopt in a second, we can do an amendment and discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think it needs to be clarified in that fashion or whatever, where you want to identify 4 parking spaces in each direction. And I'm assuming both sides of the streets. Then?
Well, my motion said 100 feet.
Okay. Is that going to be an issue for you, Chief, from a law enforcement standpoint?
Because they're not really drawn in at this time, and we're talking about painting them, and we haven't.
Okay.
So they're not really defined. So the number of parking spaces is not defined. The distance would be to the corner, which would be by the time your first car is back 15 to 20 feet, average parking spots 20 feet. So it would be roughly 4 parking spaces in each direction.
Okay, let's go. We got a motion to adopt, and let's go to the second. Move into discussion on it, because there's going to have to be
some action, whether it's approved, denied, or modified, we need to be in the discussion.
Sure, and there could be a motion to amend right now too.
That's true. Is there a second? And here's what, I get the 100 feet, and I heard what some of the residents were saying, and even what the owner was saying. And as I walked the dogs and drove past, I get the owner of the house coming down saying they don't want it and they don't see it as a problem. I understand the business sees it as a problem because they have the business there and they want to make sure there's a problem or a place to park. When I asked at one meeting, the homeowners, they have off-street parking behind them that they use now. The wife that lives there said it's parks in front to unload groceries. So it doesn't take more than an hour to unload groceries. So to me, the homeowner right there isn't a problem for them if those 4 spots are affected. Where I see a little bit of an issue, and I understand, is if we do the 100 feet, we go across the street to the building right here that doesn't have off-street parking for the resident who might be at home during the business hours, or go catty corner up Walnut a little bit where they don't have off-street parking. It was the 2 ladies that were sitting here in front. So my perspective would be 1 hour parking for those 4 spots on Market Street from Walnut, Walnut West to the alley. Those 4 spots only be 1 hour parking. That way the residents that live further east and north aren't as affected. And the only one that it would really affect would be the one homeowner right there, which like I said has off-street parking and said they don't park in front that much anymore anyway, so shouldn't be too much of an issue for that.
Also, I think we heard the chief that it would be hard to do 1 hour parking. It'd be hard to.
It's hard to enforce anyway.
It's the half hour parking over here. It's the kind, how did you phrase it, Rick? The gentle reminder or something like
It's
that.
a helpful suggestion.
Helpful suggestion to, make sure you're only there now.
Because we're really not going to spend any time enforcing it. We're just hoping people will abide by it so that the business isn't harmed because people are staking out their parking spot. And even the one resident said he probably caused it by staking out his parking spaces.
Yeah. We've done the spot parking for other locations and we got a parking problem down here. I would like to see at least those 4 spots for this business on their side of the road for those business hours. That's 7 to 3. It's not going to affect that much. I would like to see that to help.
She's only asking for 2 though, is what she's told us. I think it would be more for 4. And I mean, the biggest issue I have with it is it does not, it is meant for her Meals on Wheels customers. However, it doesn't exclude me parking there for lunch or Darla parking there for lunch. And I don't see how it fits the needs of the people that she means it to fit the needs of. I would be in favor of more of a handicap spot in front and maybe even a handicap spot across the street in front of the church.
Yeah, her concern was that actually costs her parking spots.
Yeah.
But I think the 1 hour limit, I'm in agreement with you. Debbie. I don't feel like it's going to do what was intended. Anybody can slide in there, and I thought the whole original discussion was about reserving it as handicap spaces so that people who truly needed to be closer to the business.
I'm not sure that you can even put a proper handicap space.
Right, but that was the original discussion. I was at that first meeting, I took the notes, and that was what was originally discussed.
The original request was a handicap spot right in front. That is, yes.
Why can't you put a handicap spot in front?
We can designate it wherever we want, it's not.
We could designate it, it just wouldn't be van accessible. It would be similar to the handicap spot that is out here. Yeah, it could be designated handicap, it just wouldn't necessarily be a van accessible spot.
Is there any reason there can't be a handicap spot, one in front of the building and one across the street from the church?
That would be one way to amend that.
This is where y'all are council, you do what you want. You get to amend the parking map.
Yeah, but I would suggest if you're thinking about amending it, amend it first before you take a vote on it as it is. Because if it fails, it fails.
We don't even have a second yet, so.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying,
It sounds like it might not even get a second, so it may not even be an issue.
okay, but if you're thinking about trying to pass something by way of amendment, I would do the amendment first, so.
And I'm just looking for ways to try to help the businesses in the downtown area have more parking accessibility. And like a good example was the one up by the coffee shop where they left their broken down van in a public parking spot for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, you had to make a move it, did you?
The one that was up,
Yeah.
got hit in the back end.
If we don't take ownership of our public parking, people are gonna abuse it, and that's what they're doing.
Well, from what I hear, everybody come in and say they don't think it's a problem over there.
It isn't yet, but you're helping a business grow, and one of the things that could kill it is that people quit coming because they don't have
That's pretty
accessible parking.
That's not much of it. I can't go too big because, but, I mean, everybody come in here will talk against it, so.
Well, again, and a lot of people said they don't see it as a problem, but from a business owner perspective, I think it's unfair to say, well, everyone says it's not a problem, so it's not a problem because you drive by and there's an open spot. The business owner perceives a problem either now or going into the future. If it's one customer a week that says, I didn't come in because there was no parking, because there was somebody, I drove by this time and that time and it was an hour apart and the same car was there.
Yeah.
That business owner has a problem. So I think it's unfair to say, well, everyone else says there's no problem. The business owner has a perceived problem. This, especially if it's not a problem, then putting 1 hour parking there isn't going to matter because it's not a problem. So but
That means anybody can park there. I mean,
It can't, yeah, no one says reserve parking.
yeah, it's not saying
I mean, I can park there and walk down to City Hall.
Anybody can right now, but they can leave it there for a week. And do anything.
So that's kind of, the thing is, if it's not a problem, then there's also not necessarily any harm in making it 1 hour parking. Because if it's not a problem, because people are parking there less than an hour, saying it's 1 hour parking isn't a problem. But it allows that business owner to say, hey, look, I've got a couple of 1 hour parking spots. You drive by and it's full, come back in a little bit and it should be empty. Or at least a different car will be there. And it helps them with their perception. So again, if it's not a problem, then we're not necessarily creating a problem by doing it, but helping, a business owner.
Why did she, do you know, Rick, why she changed from handicap to a limit?
Because she felt as though it would cost her more of a space than gain her a space. Because that space can only be used for handicap now. So people who respect handicap parking spaces aren't going to park there. And if she doesn't have any handicap people wanting to access her business, it's empty all day long. Because no one with handicap wanting to have their own business.
And there are some people with handicap parking that won't park on the street. Now, those people are going to come anyway because that's all there is. But it costs a spot.
And I was required as a business owner to install over 40 parking spaces. So I'm here to tell you, parking spaces aren't free. They cost a lot of money. And there's a bunch of public ones that should be used for the public benefit, not for a private rental tenant or a private homeowner to call them their own. They didn't build them, they didn't buy them, they didn't pay anything for them. Some of these places have room for off-street parking. They just aren't developed. They're not spending the money to have a place to put their car when it's not being used.
And the municipalities that have on-street parking charge permits for parking on the street to maintain that parking spot on the street.
Yeah, I would like to see vibrant downtown, and if we don't help the business owners with the parking part of it, we're not gonna have a
But,
vibrant
okay,
downtown.
maybe explain to me, so if you have, she said you have 100 people on this list. I don't know how many people come every day, but the concern of the people and with the walkers, and they aren't very mobile, which I would think would probably have a handicap stick. Isn't that correct?
I mean, I eat there pretty regularly. There are quite a few people there. Some of them are on walkers, but the building really isn't ADA accessible technically anyway.
I was
So,
gonna
right.
ask about
Yeah.
that. So when you walk in the door, is there any kind of steps when you walk in the door?
Not really. There,
Over with a wheelchair?
if you approach it from the north, I don't believe there are any steps. But the door is not like, it's not an ADA accessible building. It just really won't be.
It's not one of those.
It's not technically ADA accessible. Are there people in there who maybe have a sticker in their car? Sure.
How about 1 hour parking in one space in front of the, I still have serious doubts as to whether it's going to serve the population that she wants to serve. But if she really wants the 1 hour parking instead of the handicapped, how about one in front of the building and one across the street? In front of the church.
Can I ask why not two on the same side of the road?
Because the neighbor has said that they don't want it.
The neighbor that has off-street parking?
Yeah.
So I guess to be blunt, why do I care what a guy with off-street parking says about public parking on the road?
And again, it's reclaiming our parking spots for all of us. Not,
Well, can I ask what's wrong with the 1 hour across the street? In response to that, I mean, that makes the neighbor happy, that gives her 2 1 hour parking spaces. And none of the residents, I don't think, park on Market Street in front of the church.
The 1 hour parking directly across the street though is the church.
Why mess it up? And it's,
I'm honestly, what I'm doing at the moment is trying to figure out the logistics of where to put the sign. Because if you put it on the corner, there's not really a place for a sign on the corner right there, because it's all paved, and if you say 1 hour parking and park it down, it's going to look like it's all of them. I'm just trying to pull up an image to.
My issue with the 1 hour parking is the enforcement problems. I mean, police department doesn't have time to go by and go, oh, let's stick a sticker on that one, it's been there at that time.
but it's not gonna happen. It's not from the farmers.
By that argument, shouldn't we then remove the time limited parking on these streets?
Same thing.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody is blatantly, well, like Flanner, we had a legal precedent, we had a legal ability to make you move that van. If we don't restrict the parking, I don't know if we do, other than chopping the tires and proving it's abandoned or something, really.
It's a red vehicle, but
it's
got. Well, one thing I think is important, everybody to remember, there's recent court precedent that says we can't chalk tires.
Right.
So we
But the
put,
wrecked van's a little different.
Yeah, well, no, I'm just saying
saying,
it's on the
so-
sidewalk.
that's it's not a lack of wanting to enforce. It's a lack of an ability to do something that the court will take judicial notice of. So
What can you do with those kind of things?
if it's, I mean, quite honestly, it depends on what the situation is. A handicap is really easy to enforce because as long as it's properly marked, it either has a placard or a plate or it doesn't. And there is no timeline. If you park there for 2 minutes, I can tag it or tow it. That's my
The only thing you should really enforce would be metered parking.
metered parking. And I guess if I can throw this out here. So I grew up in South End Columbus. He grew up in South End Columbus. And I would tell you that I still like to go down to German Village and go to Thurman's and Smith's and all that. And I'm telling you right now, there's been times I've walked 2.5 blocks to get to that thing. because guess what? There's no parking anywhere around there.
And it's worth it.
And
To
it,
walk that far.
yeah, it is, it is. I walked in,
Still do it anyway.
I walked in freezing weather to get down this ditch.
Is that because you free donuts today?
No, they don't give donuts away. They got cream puff. Get on the track. But the only reason I say that is that it's not just us, it's everybody. And I think this is and you know, one thing Rick's talking about is absolutely correct, is this town, and we have to be realistic about it. And this is always kind of fascinating me. You have two downtowns. You've got Basel End and you've got this. If it was all in one spot, it would be much easier to come up with something. But when we put that up there, the sign in front of the pharmacy, what that was all about, we had people that were coming in and parking there. And this was before Pine House. This was back when it was Gumbos. So people would come in, they would park there, and they'd be in there for 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And I could not tell you the number of times I'd drive by, I see some poor guy parked on the other side of the street, getting out, you know, it looked like an insurance commercial coming across the street. And we put that sign up. Now, here's what happened. Because the sign was there, even though I'm telling you right now, I can't enforce it. But even though that sign is there, people will pull up and they'll look at it and they'll go, oh, I gotta go to the bank. I'll go up here and park instead. And as a rule, most people pull in there, they run in, they pick up a prescription, they get in the car and they drive off.
Our parking signs are kind of like your grocery shopping cart, putting it away at the end of the groceries. It says a lot about your character. It takes absolutely no effort to walk it back and put it into the cart corral in the parking lot. Those that do it are the ones that are going to pull up in 1 hour parking. I'm in and I'm out. Those that are just people that say, I'm just going to throw my cart in the middle, they're going to ignore it. But
Can I make a motion to amend? To amend the motion to be 1 hour parking, one space of 1 hour parking in front of the restaurant and one directly across the street.
During business hours only.
With this, yes, the same with only business hours.
so the set business hours is before, just clarifying.
Yes.
And so that would be,
I'm looking at full minutes here.
it was 7 to 4.
No, he said 8 to 2 p.m. Monday through Saturday.
And Monday through Saturday.
Monday through Saturday.
And then church parking, that means church parking can, they can park there.
Yeah.
It's not hers.
2 minutes.
So that would be,
I second that.
so that's going to be as you're heading west, no, as you're heading east on Market Street, it's going to be the last spot. So the spot closest to Walnut directly in front of the farmhouse. And then as you're heading
Well, it's actually in
west,
front of the phone,
it'll be,
building.
yeah, it's in front of the fun zone. And then as you're heading west, it'll be the first spot after you clear the intersection of Walnut Street. Discussion on the motion to amend.
I still don't think it
Wait a
would do
minute.
any good, because even with the 1 hour parking, people don't stay in there for an hour probably eat. So I get, nobody that parks in front of that business or across the street, those are the ones that are gonna go in there. I don't think we need a sign saying 1 hour parking. So people pull up there, they're gonna pull up there anyhow, because most people pull up, they're gonna go in that place anyhow. None of the residents down the road, I think they're not gonna park there. I just think we're just open the can of worms. I think we should just leave it the way it is. That's my feeling.
I would just say that the reason I wanted to change that is because the restaurant owner gets what she wants, 2 spots of 1 hour parking. The neighbor gets what he wants, no parking in front, no 1 hour parking in front of his house. It just seems like it's a win-win for everybody.
I was sponsoring the ordinance at this point. I make a motion to withdraw it. or do we just vote it down?
You can vote it down. We have to motion to amend in a second. We don't have a second on yours.
Oh, mine never got a second.
Yours might have a second.
Yeah, so we've got a motion and a second on the motion to amend.
All right, so is there any more discussion on which to amend? If not, we'll have a roll call on the motion to amend.
Schaffner,
Yes.
Reedy,
Yes.
McCreary.
Yeah.
What do you, I'm sorry, what,
Yes.
Foreman? Keller.
No. That's it. No.
Well, except.
Is there a,
there's-
is there,
yeah, we have to,
Nobody seconded mine, so that was died on second.
what is there? a second?
Made a motion, and the motion when you made. And when you make a motion, even nobody seconded, how can you make a motion?
he was amending the ordinance.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
Is there a second?
Come on.
Rick's
Or
motion.
Which would be the motion to adopt.
Right.
Okay. Hearing none at this time, we will move on, and if there is no second, let me see if I remember my Roberts, if there's no second by the adjournment of business, it dies.
Yeah.
Okay,
So what should we do with her request?
Yeah.
Guys,
We just said no.
Well, you can always,
No.
you can always introduce a new ordinance. So,
yeah, you can always,
Well, some, I'm not enough of a said yes. basically.
Correct.
yeah, committee
So
can always
it's
look at it.
public parking is what we're at right now.
It always was part of it, but it was always going to be public park
Okay, all right, just clarifying.
with no restrictions. It's unrestricted public park.
There you go.
There you go. All right, so any old business? Any new business?
I had a gentleman call me and he wants to know if we're interested in annexing. And I said, well, it depends. And he has told me I may be interested in this. One is contingent, the other is not. Do you guys want this? Do you want?
Remember with the Jeff?
yeah.
Excuse me?
Jeff handled it.
Yeah.
The first thing we need to do is I need to look at it and see whether it's
Contiguous.
yeah,
Yeah.
potentially annexable or not.
One is right
So,
behind, Alt Park. And then so that would be attached.
Yeah.
The other one is. Not
Out there?
quite sure. It's a little further out, going on 158, going toward Lancaster.
So what'll happen is Jeff will, especially the one that's contiguous, there's a letter that'll go out to them. There's an annexation agreement.
Is that all right? That's what you need, because it's got all the information on it, correct?
yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of further south of 158, has the park applied for annexation or did we annex the park there?
Are we going to?
Well,
Contingent upon.
yeah, the discussion was originally that that we would move forward with, we would ask the park district to move forward with annexation of the village. So there hasn't been any recent discussion on that.
And is the park attached? Would it be contiguous?
That's contiguous to the building corporation.
Yeah.
School property.
Okay. But the stuff across the street is not, correct? And that's what that
On the
is.
west side of 158.
The church.
Correct.
The church is the last thing, but if it's across the street from the park, then it would be continued. Once the park's done.
Yes, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and that is.
That was the question.
Oh, okay, I see where this is. Okay.
Yeah, that was the question he asked, because he said the park is the.
That when the park came
You
to
know
the
who it
village
is.
and asked, that was one of the conditions we put on the park, was that we didn't want to be hemmed in by the park and not go to annex beyond them. If they didn't annex, then we'd be hemmed in on yet another state route, like we have been for so many years to the east.
Yeah, Jeff, he said he knows you, so,
Yes, Jim Keller.
all right.
Darla, were you gonna talk about that DOT thing on the strike movement we talked about? In North Main?
He's retired. So.
I'm drawing a blank.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, though, where they were restriping.
Right.
So, since we're on new business and restriping, I've been paying
a lot of attention when I come in up the hill, especially when I'm bringing the horse trailer. And I'm wondering if when we move the straight 2 feet over, like ODOT had said, they could move it over, there's 4 feet of difference and move it over 2 feet. I'm wondering if that just doesn't move the problem from one side of the street to the other. Because as you come up the hill, from over a little 2 more feet, I'm getting really close to those cars on that side of the street.
Well, what I understood, and just to bring it up to speed, I've been in contact with ODOT when we're trying to figure out some of this mess up here. And so the guy I talked to brought it up, looked at it from a satellite view, and he's like, I have no idea where that stripe is, where it's at, because it should be centered up in that roadway. And it's off almost 4 feet. So what he said was, this stretch of 158 going north to the freeway is scheduled for repaving. And when they repave that, and obviously they'll restripe it. So what he was talking about is coming up the hill, like you're coming across the bridge, you come uphill. Well, currently it comes up, and this is you're going south, the curve on this side comes up and then it does this. Okay? So what he's talking about is when you get to that area, that the stripe for the road would come up and then it would also follow that, but keep the same distance from the curb. What that does is it realigns it up on that upper part of the roadway, he thinks right at that 2 foot mark. So it would take that 4 foot divide, it would take 2 foot of it and put it on the side that we have all the impacts. So now you'd have an extra 2 foot for those cars to park there, zero cost to the village. And he also said, if we map it out, if we map it out and we could go up there and stripe the parking spots we want, when they repave it, they'll come through and they will redo all roads up to whatever the standard is. So it might be a real win-win for us.
Needs to be striped before they do it.
Yeah, they said the stripes have to be on the road or they
won't read.
Yeah.
How soon is that scheduled for repayment?
He told me that they're like right in the planning stage now, but they're about 18 months out looking at it.
I've been snapping some pictures of places where the curve at the intersection comes out like 9 feet and then curves back in, and a planting bed is made there, and they'll like plant a tree or some shrubs or put some rocks in there. So basically, when you get to the first parking space, it's completely protected by curb from traffic that's northbound or southbound, because you've built this structure right at the corner out into the street.
Like Lancaster.
Yeah, so now when you park there, your car's protected by a curb. So I'm wondering if that's something we might want to look at doing in some of these downtown spaces where we have that problem. So one, it'll beautify the town, but two, it'll protect the cars that are parked in legal parking spots.
I mean, this has been on safety and service for a while. We've got both meetings in 2 weeks, so we can do more discussion in service and safety. I like that idea.
He also told me that when he comes here, he is going to call me back and say, we're going to be here at this time. So anybody that would want to go up there when they're there, so you can talk to him.
I'm always available, so
He'd be good at that.
I would appreciate a heads up.
Sure.
Okay.
And the new business. Visitors got anything?
Yes, a couple of
First time in years.
The zoning commission meeting the other night?
Yeah.
It sounds terrible. Only time Kenny Motor, you can understand him, but everything else was pretty much garbled. And the other thing I got a question for the VA is, haven't heard anything about what was going on with the,
E3.
yeah, I couldn't remember what that was
East
called.
side.
East Side Stormwater Project.
What about it?
Where's they going with it? They were gonna send letters out. There hasn't been anything.
Sounds like we still need to
They
send.
said they needed permission to get on private property to shoot elevations, and none of property owners
None
heard
of
a
us
thing.
are driving.
It didn't come up the other day when we met with them either.
What's that?
No, we need to get a hold of Mike Crane about that, see what's happening.
Yeah. If you email Mike in the morning.
Oh, you didn't tell him?
Huh?
I said, you can flood in the back of your yard, you didn't tell
He's used to it.
Yeah, I'm used to it now.
Yeah.
him. There's no water right now.
Now's not the good time then. Now's not the good time, is it?
He didn't tell us where it was.
Well, that's true.
But you have to wait and see how deep it was.
If not, if there's anything else, our next meeting is June 26th at 7:30.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second, all in favor, say aye.
Who-
Bye.
All opposed, same sign.
Carried.
Unanimous voice vote. We are adjourned at 9
I think services for the V3.
Yeah, V3 is on service.
Cool.
901.
Thanks,
Okay.
Rick.
Okay. Who made the motion to do it? Sorry.
I do.
Okay.